All right, welcome to the Krueg Show, everybody. Hope everybody's having a phenomenal night on this Tuesday. Larry Krueger, Dan Coccimilgio with you after Warrior basketball. The Warriors got trounced tonight at the Mecca, Madison Square Garden by the Knicks. The Knicks beat them up, and it was not close. 132-94. Should have faded the Warriors. Didn't wind up fading the Warriors, and they lose by a lot, 132-94. Nice 38-point shellacking. 22 for Quickly off the bench, 21 for Jalen Brunson, 15 and 12 from Julius Randle, 9 and 11 from Mitchell Robinson, 18 for Barrett, 19 for Grimes, 10 for McBride. And the Knicks go and run away and hide. The Warriors led by Jordan Poole, who had 26. And then Kuminga had 13 off the bench. And then Klay Thompson, Moses Moody, who drew the start tonight, and Ty Jerome, all with double digits, 11 in the game. Jerome doing his in 24 minutes off the bench. But Knicks came out 33-25 first quarter, added to their lead at halftime, added to their lead after three. And the Warriors just pretty much gave up at the end. The Warriors scored 13 points in the fourth quarter, Danny, and they got beat 32-13. So Warriors lose, and the question I would have for Warrior fans is, can they beat any good teams this year on the road? And if you want to get in on the Warriors, we can definitely talk about that. The Niners, of course, go against the Commanders this week. I don't know how much you watch of Commanders G-Men the other night, but the Commanders, to me, don't look that daunting. I think the 49ers are going to win this game going away. And then the big story of the day is that Carlos Correia was supposed to have an 11 a.m. Press conference. Giants were supposed to have an 11 a.m. press conference today to welcome their new $350 million 13-year investment, Carlos Correia, but they postponed it, and we don't know why. There was a medical concern that arose during his physical, and the AP is reporting that two different people with direct knowledge of the situation are reporting that. The Giants have really never publicly given any details regarding the contract. We thought it was 13 years, $350 million. And so we don't even know officially that today's presser was to introduce Correia, though we believe it was. So where do the Giants go from here? Correia and the Giants agreed on December 13th to this massive deal. That was exactly a week ago. So it is now December the 20th, and it was subject to a successful physical. And Correia's got, even though I think of Carlos Correia as relatively a healthy ball player, he has been placed on the injured list 7 times during his 8-year major league career. So they called off the media deal. What was really alarming to me, Dan, was they called off his KNBR interview in the morning on the radio. So if it was just hey, he's not feeling great, he's got COVID, his wife's pregnant, I believe, they didn't want to travel, whatever, they easily could still do a phoner on the radio and get people excited, and that
or at least just come out and say, hey, Carlos isn't feeling too good today, we're gonna
instead they canceled that too. So
yeah,
I'll throw it to you. What do you make of it? What do you make of the whole thing? A lot of speculation today, a lot of Giants fans, people already blaming Farhan, blaming the Giants. Do you see blame in this situation? Give me your rundown on it.
The only blame that I can't place blame on the Giants if Correia either is having second thoughts or there is a health issue that just came up. Where I would place blame is, why are you scheduling a press conference if you just did the medicals yesterday? I mean, you're putting the cart before the horse.
Maybe they thought the medicals were just a
formality.
Formality, yeah. That he was going to be clean across the board. Maybe Boris assured them that he was going to be clean on the medicals. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, there's all kinds of things out there in Twitter world. I mean, there's even a possibility someone put out, I think it might have been something from John Lund, that what happens if this is a PED issue and a suspension is coming? And, I don't know.
Well, that's what, see, I was immediately thinking along those same lines, not necessarily PED, Dan, but from the standpoint of what would make the Giants, who just signed this guy to be the face of their franchise, what would make them back off so quickly? I would think it would have to be something that took Carlos off the field. So like
Yeah.
like a PED suspension, or how about this? How about something was flagged in the physical that may mandate that he have some treatment or some procedure of some kind. And I immediately thought, back oriented. And let's just say that, they found out through Boris in the last week that, he's got this issue, and now they found that was confirmed in the physical, and that he's going to be out until June or July. It would be easy to just go, they got him signed for so long, what's the big deal? But that's a really bad PR hit for a lot of clubs, to give a guy $350 million, and before he's ever played a game, he's going to miss half a season. So who knows? It could be something as relatively benign as he needs some kind of a procedure that will cause him to miss some games at the beginning of the year, and the Giants either want some kind of remuneration or some kind of renegotiation, or it is possible that he has some like hereditary issue or some health issue that is not super major, but they want coverage. And so maybe they want, who knows, maybe they want an out on the contract. Maybe they want
maybe
some
there's
adjustment.
maybe there's a mutual buyout, opt out for Carlos, and a buyout for the Giants. I just think that it's gotta, who knows what this thing could really happen. But the mistake that was made is coming out and announcing the press conference in the first place. Just wait till you have everything. I mean, what's the hurry? What are we hurrying because you're getting vibes? Maybe
you already waited a week.
Yeah. Are you getting vibes that maybe he's looking to back out of the deal? I mean, Judge, I believe, just signed his deal today with the Yankees. It's pretty common to announce these deals, a week, 10 days, and then earlier, and then waiting to get the contract language all put together and signed, and, having a press conference. So I don't know. To me, it just makes no sense for them to have put this out yesterday. They just put it out yesterday. Today's Tuesday. They couldn't have waited until they got all the results back and scheduled this thing for, Wednesday or Thursday of this week. Just doesn't make any sense that they jumped the gun.
Let's check the chat. Romo 2001, only the Giants could mess this up. We got this one from Romo. He says, note to the Giants front office, don't announce a press conference until the physical has been completed. Gilbert Gamboa, Giants are either overreacting or there's legit concern, and they should walk away. We should find out soon enough, but this looks bad on the Giants.
What would be typical is that the Giants back out of something because they're nervous, very fearful of the fact that this is a career type threatening thing that could really cut Carlos Correia's career short. And then he goes on and plays 12 years and hits, 500 home runs in his career, and he wins the Triple Crown or batting title, and he's Hall of Famer, and he goes in as a Hall of Famer for, whatever, the Yankees, the Dodgers, Padres, and the Giants like, oh crap, we had him.
Well, and then we got this one from Gilbert, who says, yeah, you would think the physical was done shortly after the news broke. That this makes it seem like they just did the physical yesterday. I mean, first of all, you can't do a physical virtually. You got to do it. You got to wait until the guy comes to town, right?
Right. Right.
Or I guess he
So
could do it by his doctor,
a lot of
wherever
times
he's.
I do know this. Um, I've been visiting my doctor here in Arizona. It's a spine doctor because I've had some spine issues with my cervical, and he is the Giants doctor for the San Francisco Giants. And so he gets all of the MRIs, looks over the MRIs of the spine, and he reports back to the Giants what he sees. I put a call into him today to see if we could get him on even tonight. I didn't hear back from him. I mean, it's kind of a situation. He's probably not going to want to say anything because he could risk, losing his contract, I'm sure, with the Giants. Hey, like, what are you doing going out there and saying what's going on? But he does. I asked him specifically because I was in there last week and I said, what happens? I mean, he says, I get everybody. I get minor leaguers. They send me stuff all the time. And he says, the hard part is I see spines that look like you don't want to sign this guy because his spine it's crooked and everything's messed up and guys turn out to be fine. And he says,
What kind of doctor is he? Is he a general practitioner?
No, he's an orthopedic surgeon.
Okay, so does that make you think that it's a back related issue?
I heard from Slusser today, reading on Twitter, that it was not a back issue. The Giants
right,
said it was
but
not
wouldn't
a back
that
issue.
contradict?
No, I'm just saying what he does review everything. So he reviews, the neck, the entire spine, the back. He's looking at, when they do these signings, they're getting images of everything. So it may not even be his call on this. It might be another doctor. It might be a rotator cuff. It could be I have no idea what it could be.
I mean, also, there's a lot of people just from being in sales. There's a lot of people that get buyer's remorse.
Oh yeah, I've had deals.
Do you think
go
the
bad.
Giants have buyer's remorse after Dog said it's the worst signing in the history of their franchise?
No, I don't think the Giants do. I think it was if it's anybody.
Carlos has any buyer's remorse?
It would be Carlos, if anything.
Really, I look at it the other way. I look at it as the Giants because I mean, I love Carlos Correia too. Don't get me wrong; he's a really good player. I think he's a top 25 major league player. But 13 years, 13-year deal. I mean, Crawford. If Crawford had, Crawford's 35. When Correa's 35, he's going to have 6 more years left at shortstop on that deal.
Yeah, but he's a really good hitter, and the bat's not going to go at 35. He's got great hand-eye coordination, bat speed.
But they could get, they could have second thoughts on that term. I mean, I don't think
it's the Giants. I think because that would be suicide. That would be public relations suicide on their part. To if Correia comes back and says, "Hey, I was fine," but they started,
But what's worse, Danny? What if could Farhan withstand Tuesday, December 20th, 2022 signing of Carlos Correia for $350 million and a Thursday, December 22nd revelation that he's going to miss the first half of the season? See, I don't know. I mean, I think
you can work around that because you can restructure part of the deal. You could say, there's some injury history here, so we want Carlos. We restructure the deal based on some incentives. So many games played per year, he earns the full amount. That type of thing. The
Buster right there.
Yeah, Buster's.
You got the sidekick going today.
Yeah, he's. I'm on the couch tonight. I'm in my.
Yeah, where are you? This isn't Del Boca Vista.
Yeah, this is the room edition I just completed, and I was like, we cleaned the carpets today, and they're a little wet in there and everything, and so I was like, got fans blowing and everything, trying to dry it, and I'm like, so I just it was too noisy, so I moved everything out here tonight. But
It's
Buster,
Arizona. It should be pretty quick to dry,
yeah,
no?
yeah, it is. I had to actually turn the air on. The guy told me turn the air on, and so I got it down to like 61 in the house. It's like really cold. But this room out here is not carpeted, so it's
What is it
tile.
tonight in Arizona? What's December 20th look like in Arizona weather-wise?
Well, my guess is it's in the low 50s. Let me just do a quick check on the
Well, that's
Weather
pretty
Channel.
chilly.
It
It's
can
not
get
so
it can
it's
get
not
it's
it's not
48
hot.
right now.
What is it?
48.
48?
48.
Wow.
48.
Downright
So
freezing. Romo says, I heard,
yeah.
he said, I heard that each team determines what conditions are a go or a no-go contract-wise. One team may let a certain medical condition slide by, while others may nix the deal based on it. Kalba says, you didn't think donates $10. Thank you, Kalba. You didn't think Farhan would allow that silver medal to be had by somebody else, did you? He's inventing new ways to finish second.
Hey, Kalba, you owe me, man. You lucked out last night in fantasy. That was a Christian Watson. I had Christian Watson, and I lost to Kalba by 4 points. Did you see the play where Rodgers threw it and Watson wasn't looking on the goal line? Did you see that play last night, Larry?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, Watson catches that ball. He walks into the end zone. I move on.
Oh,
Kalba gets lucky because I had Jonathan Taylor, who went out on the first play of the game.
Oh no!
Caught a 13-yard pass, and he's out for the season now because
I saw
ankle.
that. I saw he's done for the year.
So I had a roster that was built to win this thing. I worked hard on it. Kalba coasted.
You're stressed.
Man.
Pacific Heights says this is just another reason why Farhan just ain't it. Well, Nick J says, man, what is up with the Carlos Correia deal? That's the thing. We don't know. Jason says, what's up, Krueger? What's up, Jason? How's it going? Fist in the air. Danny, perfect background. The Giants hit a brick wall. There you go.
He beat me 3 times this year, man. Kalba. He says, you're right, Dan.
Danny's not letting the fantasy thing go.
Yeah, you beat me 3 times, man, because last week we played the last week of the season, and Jonathan Taylor had a bye. Okay. You had my number one guy, and you missed him twice, Kalba.
Silent Seth.
You're living well.
Silent Seth says, we got Clay playing horribly, Correia potentially failing his physical, and the Niners with a third-string quarterback. It's horror land in San Francisco sports. Yeah, that might be a little hyper negative. The Warriors, I still think if I was sitting in a casino in Vegas and I can have one team in the West to go to the finals, I'm putting it on Golden State. I'm not putting it on Memphis. I'm not putting it on Denver. I'm not putting it on Phoenix. Not putting it on Dallas or Portland. I'm betting on Golden State. So I think Golden State's going back to the finals despite their early season struggles. The Niners look unbeatable with Brock Purdy right now. I think Brock Purdy looks better than Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. And as far as Correia, well, you know what? 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Patrick Sheehan. I blame Aaron Judge and John Heyman. What if John Heyman
was
responsible for this?
Could they have had Arson Judge for a total of 7 minutes and Carlos Correia for 7 days?
The curse of Arson Judge.
7 days.
Oh my God. Nick 707, walk away. Terrible contract. Paying any player to the age of 41. Panic move after missing out on Judge. Let's be like the Niners trading 3 ones to move up after missing on Stafford. Oh, wait, they did that. That's another thing. Okay, let's talk about that for a second. Nick 707 is giving us a different perspective. I sat in for Steiny, the great Matt Steinmetz getting vacation. It was me and Guru on 95.7 The Game today. And there were a couple of people on the text line that were saying this is a good break. This is a good situation. That contract is too long. 13 years for Carlos Correia. You're going to have him at 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. Each one of those numbers is actually a full year and the guy plays shortstop. Crawford's 35 right now. Imagine 6 more years of Crawford.
Yeah,
right
but
now.
you can move Correia if he loses a step or two.
But
You
is he
can
a
move
power hitter? No.
Well,
I mean,
he's not
15
huge
home
power,
guy.
but he's he hits the ball hard. He's in the
Good
top.
hitter.
He's a really good hitter.
But
The
I'm just
thing
saying,
about this is
what do you think
Correia's
of
a
that
charismatic.
concept? Do you think
I
it's a
don't.
bad contract? Because I mean, I
Hey,
do think
it's not a great
I
contract.
pushed the Giants to go do this, and I wanted them to do this, but let's be honest about this. 13 years is about 5 too many.
Yeah, but that's what the price of doing. You saw what
I get it,
Turner
but it's
got,
5 too
what
many. Would you
Bogart.
agree?
I think
In
it's
an ideal
probably,
world, would you rather
Oh.
have an 8-year deal
Oh.
or a 13-year deal?
Ideal 8-year, of course.
Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, you look at the guys I grew up with Mays and McCovey. A lot of those guys had 1 year-to-year contracts. I mean, they didn't have long-term contracts. A lot of those guys.
Oh, I know.
And they just, 2 years, maybe 3, and then a lot of guys were just on every year. But here's what I'll say: why the Giants? It's a bad contract in the terms of the years. The AAV is manageable at $27 million.
I agree.
So if he plays 10 years and you owe him, you paid out $270 and you owe another $80 million over 3 years. At that point, the $80 million is probably, like in today's dollars, probably about 50, right? 40, 50.
Still a lot of money, man.
It's still a lot of money, but these guys are raking in so much.
I know, but I mean, $80 million in lost, productivity.
Here's why I'm not worried about the 13 years at all. Is just what I said about the AAV. The other thing is this: they need to attract other stars, because just having
that's
Correia,
the thing. What if they're done? I heard Pavlovich tell Willard and
well, not just this year, but next year. They need to
Madsen
attract
today that they could be done. Like assuming the Correia deal goes through, Pavlovich was suggesting the Giants could be done. They need a center fielder. They need a first baseman. They need another reliever or two.
If they're done, their ceiling is third place. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
And their floor is the last place. They could still end up in last place with this team. Okay. So
with Correia,
they're at best with Correia right now, a third place team. If they want to have a shot at the wild card, they need a top flight center fielder, and they need another bullpen guy to help them back into the.
They need to trade for David Bednar and Brian Reynolds.
Yeah, I mean that would help you.
Brian
Reynolds.
Brian Reynolds.
Yeah, that type of move right there would put you in a contention
for second. Or contention, just contention. Let's just say
contention. Yeah, it would put you in contention, and there's 6 spots that make the the playoffs. 3 division winners and 3 wild cards. Right. So right now, if you were looking at just today and said, okay, who's the favorites? It's going to be in the West, San Diego, and the Dodgers. One of those teams wins the division, one's a wild card. You go to the Central, whoever wins the division, now you've got 3 wild teams in the playoffs. Then you take the East, and you've got the Braves, the Phillies, and the Mets. So those 3 are the teams that would make the playoffs. So you have 6 teams. Giants are outside looking in again. So Giants need a lot to do. But what I'm saying about the whole thing with the 13 years and why it's not a bad deal is the Giants need to start somewhere. They need to get a star. So maybe next year Ohtani's
I agree.
Maybe Ohtani's like, oh crap, you guys got pitching, you got Correia.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Ohtani, Danny, because let me ask you this. And this Calba makes a great point, by the way, before I get to my point. I'm guessing this is Calba. I'm guessing they thought he would pass, given that Minnesota offered him 10 years, 285. And if anybody knows his medicals, it would be them. He played for them last year. Right. So I agree with Calba. I think that's a really, really compelling point, that the Giants had every reason before you go down. I mean, you know me. If the Giants need criticizing, I'm not afraid to criticize. But I'm also about fairness. And I really believe that you don't do what I do for a long time without being fair to people. And I think Kalba brings up a point which makes it hard to blame the Giants because you're there. He's right. Absolutely 100% right. Minnesota offered him 10-year deal, 10 years,
Right.
285. So
Right.
they know his medicals.
Right.
So if they're comfortable, to me, that's a huge indicator that maybe other teams should be comfortable as well.
Yeah, I was going to bring that point up too because I did see that. Yeah, Minnesota. So I don't think it's anything unless it's something that just came up in the last week, that was discovered. But Minnesota, he played the whole year there with him, and they were ready to move on with him again. So it can't be anything earth shattering. That I mean, don't these guys have exit kind of physicals or what as well, or something, some kind
They
of
have exit
checkup?
interviews. I don't know if that's a great question. I don't know if they have exit physicals. Nick J says maybe it's as simple as COVID or RSV. What's RSV, Danny?
I don't really know what respiratory something maybe, or not sure.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Nick J, type in what RSV is. We get this one, Niners Warriors. It has to be medical, like a heart issue, a blood test, etc. That was never discovered, in my opinion. Nick J says, did he get the jab? Maybe he's got heart inflammation because of the COVID-19 vaccination. I
Yeah,
mean,
maybe that, maybe
I
that,
don't know.
maybe that, and the rest of the players.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Who knows?
Jeez.
Here we got this one, Romo. This is why you don't schedule a press conference if the process hasn't been finished yet. Bad move on the Giants' part. I'll say this, where I think that what's fair and not fair to blame the Giants. Okay, I don't think it's fair to blame the Giants as far as they went out and got damaged goods. This is what the physical is for, to make sure you don't get damaged goods. So it isn't official until you sign on the dotted line. So I don't blame him for the physical, flagging him on the physical. I would blame them more for you're doing sales. You're selling your audience on, hey, go buy Giants tickets in 2023. It's essentially a sale. Farhan is a very bright guy. I know he's got a higher IQ than I have, but he doesn't understand sales at all. I mean, he really doesn't. He consistently overpromises and underdelivers. And he may not actually promise per se, but when you're talking openly about Seiya Suzuki and Trevor Story and Aaron Judge and you're getting nothing that resembles that, you're creating an expectation that you never want to do. You want to underpromise and overdeliver. They've talked a big game and delivered very little. And so that's it. There is no dollar amount that's too big for us. There is no. And then here's Mitch Haniger. They have talked. They've talked up players, and then they've gone for such lesser players that it created it's like you've created disappointment with expenditures. Your fans should always be enthused by your expenditures and your moves, not disappointed because you promised a Lamborghini and delivered a Chevette. I mean, you just can't do that. I mean, Danny, you're in sales sort of. I mean, managing your clients' expectations is a huge part of being great at sales. And the Giants fans' expectations based on the Giants' dialogue about Suzuki and Story and Soto and Judge and Shohei, their expectations are in the stratosphere. And the Giants had a hand in that. So I think you can absolutely, they need to be blamed for being awful at sales, for over-promising and under-delivering when the opposite was the way to go. And so that would be my biggest criticism of Farhan if he was sitting right here. I'd say, Farhan, I'm not critical of the moves you've made. I'm critical of the expectations that you've created and the moves that you've made. Because the move, being smart about rotating guys on and off the 25 man, on and off the 40 man, that's smart. That's hustling. That's being resourceful. That's overturning every rock. But creating this expectation of Judge or Soto or Shohei and delivering Haniger and no names, and you're in on Rodon, and then you let him walk and you replace him with Stripling and Manaea. I mean, the expectations and what you're, it just doesn't jive. And it's what it really is at the end of the day. It's being really not good at sales, because that's really the problem. It's not what they've done. It's what they've done compared to the expectations that they had a huge hand in creating. I mean, that's how I see it. I don't know. Danny, you're actually on one of the people that, for people who don't know, Dan's a season ticket holder for the Giants. His job basically, or not job, but his option is to either re-up for 2023 or not. So he's actually one of the people who are, he's paying the freight on this. So I always put people like that a little bit above the rest of us, because the rest of us are just big mouth know-it-alls with opinions. You guys are actually have a seat at the table. You're part of the business plan. You're part of the investment. That's how I see it. It's not like Farhad's made horrendous moves that are like, oh my God, can you believe these moves? It's that he's made a lot of nondescript moves, and he's created expectations and not paid it off.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Yeah, I mean, and just imagine all the people in the last week that actually became new season ticket holders with the Correia announcement. And if this is dead, are they going to, I guess if they haven't paid it yet, I'm sure the Giants would refund it, because you usually don't pay the full amount. And
I was wondering about that as well. What if people, and I'm guaranteeing there were probably thousands of people in this category, right, who weren't re-upped, saw the Giants make this massive commitment and re-upped.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people that re-upped. I mean, I personally didn't, because I know how much time I have before I lose the seat licenses. And
how much time
I'm not willing to. What's that? I have.
How much time do season ticket holders have?
I was told by my ticket person I have till probably early to mid-January before they start, revoking the license. So I was waiting for more moves, because to me, this isn't a team that excites me still. I mean, the rotation lost its kind of, your fireballer. Yeah, kind of the guy that's the that's going to go out there.
Lefty.
Yeah. I mean, remember he had so much emotion. Remember he kicked the bat last year in the dugout and it hit Estrada, and it was a dumb move, but at least he has some passion. He's, the team was dead and nobody was moving, and I think Rodon was frustrated because they were in a losing streak and there was nothing from Gabe. It was just kind of like, hey, well, figure your way out of this, guys. And Rodon was competitive and he wanted to win. He was ticked off when he didn't do well. So in my view, this team is not, worth going to pay big money to go watch right now, even with Correia. I mean, it's better, and it's the lineup.
You were happy, yeah, but you were happy they made the signing, right?
Oh yeah, when they announced the deal with Correia, I was elated. It was, to me, it was like, hey, they've got.
They're finally delivering on all this talk,
right? I mean, Correia was looked at in baseball as really in many cases, definitely a top 25 player.
He's a blue chipper. He's a top 25
Many looked
player.
at him as a top 5-10 because of his what he produced, his WAR, his defensive runs saved, his just his leadership in the clubhouse, on the field. He's not a quiet leader like Crawford. He's a very boisterous. He's very animated. He's the guy that the Giants haven't had. I mean, Buster Posey was a great leader, but he was a quiet leader. Giants haven't had anybody since maybe Hunter Pence was the guy, that was the emotional leader on the team, but Correia was all of that. And I don't know if this is true, what's happening. There's all kinds of headlines out there, but Barstool Sports, they put out horrible, awful news. Carlos Correia failed his physical, and now the Giants deal might be dead. I mean, did he fail it, or are they just looking at an item to get more clarification? There's
I would love to know too. I mean, is it obviously? I mean, if they're saying he failed it, then if there's any hesitation, it's coming from the Giants side of things. Is that, you think that's an accurate read? If they're saying that he failed the physical, because
who knows?
It's not like he failed them or anything. They failed him in this physical. It was their way to get out, and they're getting, and at least for the moment, it looks like they're getting out. Now, I don't know if that means they're actually getting out of the deal or if they're just delaying it. Ryan Madsen made a great point today, saying that maybe they're just looking for some protections on the back end because of what the physical revealed. I mean, that would be reasonable, right? Like saying, hey, Carlos, hey, Scott, Boris, we don't want to get out of the deal. We absolutely want Carlos to be the face of the Giants, and everything we said about him, we believe, and the reasons we want him, we still want him. And we're very consistent. We just want a little bit of protections against this particular thing that popped up in the medicals. Can we work something out? And maybe that has to be negotiated.
Yeah. I believe this deal still gets done personally.
You do?
I do. I think there's.
Do you think the Giants look worse if it doesn't or if it does?
If it doesn't.
If it gets done, there's a lot of people that said, man, they overpaid and they knee-jerk reaction to losing out on Judge, so on and so forth, 13 years. The other side is, man, they had to do something.
I just know that if you look at this, there's been nothing said by Correia's camp or the Giants. They're quietly negotiating or working or waiting on what's come out. And, Carlos Correia, if you look at his Twitter, he's still got the Giants, Oracle Park in the background of the picture on the top of his Twitter feed. So, I mean, I don't think like he's all of a sudden, he's pulled that. He's no longer going to be with the Giants.
That's interesting. I didn't even know. So he's got a picture of Oracle Park and he's kept it there.
Yeah, it's still there. It's still there. I mean, when you look at
probably on the Giants end, and it probably, I mean, heck, it's the fourth biggest financial commitment in the history of the game.
Yeah.
So if something popped up on the medical, this is your one opportunity to address it, right? Somehow, some way, either through some stipulation or some bonus or something.
I mean,
that probably protects the club, and they're probably
this is
little extra protection.
As Barstool Sports says, the writer, this isn't just going into, for a physical, you go into the doctor's office and they, grab your balls and cough, this is every joint, every ligament.
It's like a full body scan. Yeah, they're looking at partial tears.
Yeah, CAT scans, MRIs. They're looking at everything. And
and there's very few people that are clean. I mean, I had some MRI done on my upper body like maybe 7-8 years ago, and I'd done lots of weightlifting in high school and college, especially with my shoulders. Right, I used to like do military. My roommate was nuts, so we'd do these military. He could literally do 225 behind his head. If you can imagine 225.
Wow.
And I never went that heavy, but I would go kind of heavy because he went so heavy on shoulders. Well, when I got this MRI done, it showed these hot spots on the top of my shoulders. And the doctor just said, did you do a lot of weightlifting with your shoulders? I said, yeah. He's like, well, you've got some calcifications or decalcifications on the top of the shoulders, just right there. And you can see it. He's like, does it bring you any pain? And he's like, no. He's like, had me do a number of, rotations and different exercises and, to show him like different movements. He's like, do you have any pain here? Any pain there? Any pain? I'm like, no, feels fine. He's like, okay, well, it shows hot spots. Like some people have, incredible tendonitis that comes out of these hot spots, right?
Yeah.
So you might have, especially a football player, might have tendonitis up in his shoulders. He's like, you might want to look for late in life or future life tendonitis in your shoulders. And I said, okay. He's like, it's something to monitor. I mean, I've never had any problems with my shoulders at all, but it showed up on the MRI. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's just because, and I'm not comparing myself to Carlos Correa. I'm just saying that those MRIs sometimes, I mean, do you remember when Garrison Hurst came out of Georgia during the medicals at the combine, they discovered that he didn't have an ACL in one of his knees, that he had torn it as a kid, and he had like a PCL and an MCL, but he had no ACL, or he had, let's say there's 3 ligaments there. He had 2 of the 3, but not 3 in one of the knees. And so they flagged him on it. And it was like, oh, Garrison Hurst went on and had a full NFL career.
Right. And pretty good one.
Yeah, pretty good one. So
yeah. I could see Farhan like not sleeping at night over the 3. Oh, this is so out of my comfort zone, man. Didn't. And then all of a sudden he goes,
he's all nervous.
Yeah. Find something on those reports and see if we
fail them. I don't care what it is. Fail them. We cannot sign this deal.
Yeah. I can't see that actually. I mean,
what if the Giants could go after Correia in 2022 or Shohei in 2023, but not both?
Oh, they wouldn't bank on that though, because the odds of them getting Shohei in free agency to me are not very high.
Right. But I mean, like, I'm wondering, like, what would Judge have sold for tickets? What would Shohei sell for tickets? And what did Correia in the last? Hey, how about this for an idea? I mean, I'm just speculating, wild speculation. They signed him they announced it last week. What if this week, this huge groundswell of ticket sales was nothing, and there was no groundswell of ticket sales? And there was like hardly any groundswell of ticket sales. And they're still looking at a $13 million, $350 million commitment. And they're just thinking, we thought we were going to get a groundswell of ticket sales. We're not getting a groundswell of ticket sales. We've test drove it for a week, fail this guy on the physical, and let's get out of this deal. It's going to look ugly on the backside.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I just don't see that because it's 27 million a year. Yes, it's 13 years, but I think Correia is going to be wonderful for 8 to 10 of those years. I really do. I don't see a guy that can hit like he can hit, even if he doesn't play in the field after 35, 36 as much. Guy's still a great hitter, great leader, and it's 27 million a year. I mean, I'd be more worried about the 40 million a year and nine years to Judge, because that one that takes up 13 more million. That's one really good player right now. That you figure like Haniger's at 13 million, right? Okay. 13, 14 million.
But a lot of that was based on what kind of tickets would be sold with Judge. I'm just saying, let's say they went from, 360 for Judge, but it's 40 million a year. Now they go to 350 for Correia. But what if Correia produced hardly any ticket sales?
Well, I'll tell you
what if he didn't move. He's a baseball player. He doesn't have Q rating. He's not his popularity really does not transcend baseball, where Aaron Judge's really does. Do you know what I'm saying? Shohei Ohtani, his popularity transcends his stats. Correia doesn't. He is his stats.
Yeah, I just like I said a week ago, the signing of Correia to me was better on field. It's not better for the box office than Judge. I'd rather have Judge for the box office and the excitement. But Correia will be a better long-term fit because he plays a key position, and Judge,
he's a better player. I mean, Judge is really proven to be a better player than Judge.
I think Judge has a few more good years in him of he's 30, 31. I think in 3 to 4 years, you're going to start seeing a larger drop off on Judge, just because his type of frame at 6'7"
and his massive strike zone.
can tend to wear down a little bit. The first thing to go is bat speed, or your eye, where you start not seeing it as quick, and you got to be on that. A split second difference in your swing can be the difference of, instead of 40, 50 homers to like 25, 20, 25, and a lot more strikeouts. So, I mean, that high fastball becomes much harder to hit when you're losing some of your reaction time. I mean,
and who knows what Judge will sell ticket wise, well into the deal. I mean, right now it would be a novelty, but the novelty would wear off. Nick J says it's Xmas week. No one cares. Should have waited until after the new year. Yeah, they probably could have avoided a lot of embarrassment. Jack Semino says, yeah, I don't understand why the press conference was scheduled if it wasn't already finalized on the contract. I imagine it wouldn't take long to set one up. I mean, they do wind up looking kind of bad here. Donald Spring says, if Correia does not sign, I am boycotting the Giants for years. Then he goes on to say, Farhan is disgraceful. Wow, that's pretty strong. It's here we go on this one. Nick J. And if they do nix this deal, there's no one left to move the needle in free agency.
No,
Danny, who's the best free agent left they could get? Will Myers?
Yeah, there's Will Myers
would
out there.
Would you go after Jose Iglesias, who's a flashy shortstop?
Yeah. Didn't Joey Gallo sign already
a
couple days ago?
Twins.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, there's and I think somebody signed today Brandon Drury. Who was that?
Diamondbacks?
Was it the Diamondbacks?
There's a lot of talk about him going to the Diamondbacks. Mark Graves says Farhan's last move if this deal gets voided. Wow.
Oh, it was the Angels. Angels signed Drury.
Yeah, it's a pretty good pickup. He's pretty versatile. Donald Spring, Farhan better get fired on the spot if this deal falls through. Oh, my God. Ranger 44. Did Correia eat one of Danny's completes?
He got sick. Yeah.
Maybe he was munching some completes.
Yeah. I just, who really knows what it is? We'll know probably this week, I would think.
A lot of people blaming Farhan. Farhan needs to be kicked to the curb if this deal falls through.
I'm on Farhan all the time, but you really can't blame Farhan if it is something medical, because it may have showed up in the physical, and the Giants are not, they're not examining him when they're offering him a contract. Hey, get on the table. We want to, check you out. We want to get
and there's
MRIs right now.
I think of him as relatively healthy. Really,
he just completed the season.
I think of him as relatively healthy. He plays the majority of the games.
Hey, he just finished the season. What, 3 months ago?
Right,
less than 3 months ago, end of September, early October. So yeah, early October the season ended. So this isn't
it's not Cal Ripken, but he's not like he's missed a ton of time.
No, I mean, this is just something that pops up in these things from time to time. There was a recent signing of somebody else, a big signing in sports that had something come up in a physical. I'm trying to think who it was, but
that would be good. What's the biggest deal voided in because of the medicals? Anonymous says, okay, if there's a legitimate health issue, this is not the Giants' fault. What is the Giants and Farhan's fault? What is the Giants and Farhan's fault is the lackadaisical slow burn that resulted into no other free agents.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I
said, in the beginning, they should have given Aaron Judge and his agents a timeline. And that was a couple days before the winter meetings started. And they said, we need a decision. And this is our offer. And if you're going to shop it, go ahead and shop it. But if you're not back, if you don't accept it by December 3rd, the meeting started on the 4th, a Sunday night. They really took off on Monday, Tuesday, the 5th and 6th. If you're not going to accept, fine. Giants could have immediately pivoted to Correia in this situation, not knowing the medicals, but let's say they pivoted to Correia or Trey Turner, and then they could have went after some of the other guys with the money they would have saved that they were willing to pay for Judge. So they could have moved much quicker. They could have got
Nick J says clearly it was buyer's remorse. We got Colton Welker. We don't need Carlos Correa. And then we got this one. Romo says Giants' fault for keeping a press conference when the physical had not been finished. MF, what a mess. What a mess.
I got my
Gilbert
background.
Gamboa, not just dog. Lots of Giants fans have been vocal about how they don't like this contract.
Yeah. Look at this comment here. Because of the background of my brick is in the Maricopa Sheriff's office.
Yes. Dan's being interrogated.
Yeah, it's funny because the rest of this room is I got some drywall here. I got a door, doggy door to the back. We got
that. You got the flat screen there. What, you got a window? Is this an add-on?
That's a bedroom. That's where the back of the house was. I added on to this room.
So what's the temperature in this room compared to the rest of the house?
Oh, it's I've got a mini split right up there. Heat and AC, so it stays the same temp as the rest of the house.
Nice.
So
nice. We got this one. Donald Springs says, if this truly is Correia getting cold feet, just wow. Swanson, Dansby Swanson's gone. Anonymous. Roma and I have been talking about Swanson for weeks to play second base. That is when I was convinced it was at least $250 million for the amount he actually did sign for. The Giants should have.
175 he got for 7 years or something like that.
Nick 707 said exactly. Krug players are awful at 35, unplayable at 40.
Well,
it does seem like a really long deal, and I think
players are able to play longer, especially with the DH. I mean, Willie Mays had a great year at 39. Look at Willie Mays' 39-year-old.
But Willie, season. Willie was before his time. Willie had a nutritionist. And Willie was committed.
But today they have those nutritionists. They have all the weights. And look at Brady. Is Brady 45 or 6? 46.
46, I think.
Yeah,
45 going on to 46.
Look at the shape he's in. I mean,
I know. He looks better than when he came out in the combine. He says D2 says the Giants are willing to spend. Look to next year. Desperate teams like desperate measures. Giants aren't desperate. Well, you know what? That's a great question. Are the Giants desperate? They seem like the pivot would be to another free agent, but they would be viewed as desperate. The pivot after that would be to the trade market. But man, I mean, if you're dealing with the Giants in a trade market, wouldn't you ask for the moon knowing their situation right now? I mean, I don't know that the Giants are getting a good deal from anybody on the trade front or the free agent market if this Correia deal falls apart. Would you agree on that, Danny?
Yeah, it's tough. It really does. I mean, it makes things tough. So I don't know. I just can't see this deal completely falling apart with the fact that Minnesota was offering 10 years, 285. I mean, he just finished the season, 2.5 months ago with them.
If Crawford wasn't from Pleasanton, he'd probably follow up with a Wednesday morning trade demand.
Yeah, like get me out of this clown show.
Yeah, I want out. That's it. I'm not playing shortstop. I've already made up my mind. I'm going to play third. Now I'm staying at third. That would be awesome. That would be incredible. You know what? I've already my wife and I have already prayed about it and talked about it. You know what? We're staying at third. So now the Giants have no shortstop.
Tyro Estrada. Oh, bring back. I think he's still in the AAA. Dixon Machado, or no, he signed with somebody else. Darn it.
Oh, maybe trade Kervin Castro to. Oh, you already did. Anonymous. This is not cold feet. Correia got a once in a lifetime deal, and Dan actually was right. The Giants would commit free agent Seppuku by changing their mind at the 11th hour. I mean, yeah, I mean, if the Giants got cold feet, they could get out of this deal, but man,
Oh, you'd
they would
never
probably
attract
be
another free. How would
oh,
that be for attracting other free agents? Hey,
right.
come make an agreement with us, and then just before the press conference,
If we
we're
don't
gonna pull
like it, or if you haven't sold enough season tickets,
we're gonna pull the
I'm
plug.
telling you, Dan, what if, because Carlos Correa is only, the money is only 10 million less than what they were going to spend for Judge, but the impact to the
Yeah,
ticket
I don't think it
sales,
has anything to do with any of
you don't
that.
think so?
No.
I bet you they're,
This is
I bet you
all.
they're hugely disappointed by how few tickets Carlos
Well, it's also,
Correa moved. That would
I
be my
do.
guess.
I think the Giants are going to have to prove it on the field before that place starts getting packed. That's how San Franciscan fans are. The Bay Area fans will show up for a winner or an exciting team. Baseball's a little different than basketball and football. You got football 8-9 games. Basketball, you have 41. The Warrior fans always supported Warriors because they were, even when they were down, because it was the only show in town. Baseball, it's summer, people have other things to do, there's a lot to do in the Bay Area. You better put out an exciting team and be competitive if you want the fans to show up.
Yeah. Oh, it's a competitive market for your entertainment dollar
Yeah,
in the spring and
so
summer months.
to
No,
me,
no
this is
question.
just a medical concern that came up. It's probably something that is not so significant that they don't want him, but maybe the terms need to be changed and language needs to be added to the contract to protect the Giants
Right. That's what I was
financially.
thinking too. They probably want some more protections or the exact same deal, but some kind of an opt out in there for the club, something. MF says bring back Ned and Brian Sabian. Maximilian says, did Danny renew season tickets? If so, does he want a refund? Dan, if you had, this is a good question. If you had renewed based on today, how would you be reacting?
Oh, well, if the
If you
deal
had renewed.
yeah, had I renewed and the deal, I found out it was falling through, I would
Right.
be demanding, hey, this is false advertising. Based on, I think you'd have a pretty good case too in court if they didn't. I mean, it really is. It would be false advertising.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it would be bait and switch. It's a classic bait and switch. It's like, come to my steakhouse. I was comparing it to, hey, you go to a steakhouse like Morton's and you pay, filet mignon prices and they serve you flank. And then a couple people on the text one were like, hey, Krug, don't run down flank. It's really good in beef tacos. I'm like, it's all right. No problem. But if you're paying for filet mignon, you want filet mignon. Ranger 44 says if it's buyer's remorse, then the Giants better be ready to refund a whole lot of season tickets. And we got this one from Gilbert. He says, there was an article released today where Scott Boras states that Greg Johnson, Giants owner, closed the deal. It's encouraging to hear ownership stepping up. So, yeah. I mean, no question. I mean, I'm glad that they closed the deal, but now it sounds like the deal is very much not closed. Think red and gold. Breaking news: Correia, spelled not that way, is not coming because Gabe Kapler won't give up his coconut oil. Oh, wait a second. I gotta cool your jets. Cool your jets, Larry. Purdy's doing fine, but he's not Montana yet. Anytime you bring up Montana, you're opening yourself up for that one. So anonymous.
Hey, Bill Romanowski says he is. Might be.
All I'll say is this. Yeah. Bill Romanowski played with the Niners when Joe Montana was there. He practiced against Joe Montana. Bill Romanowski, without anybody leading him towards it, made that comp. So that ain't me.
Today on the game, right? On 95.
That's Bill Romanowski. Matt writes, here's $4.99. You wouldn't see the Niners or the Warriors PR teams botch this the way the Giants have, proving why they are third banana in San Francisco sports yet again. Do you look at this as a PR blunder, Danny? Is it a PR blunder?
In the sense that
should the Giants PR people be held accountable for this falling out? I mean, that seems.
The fact
PR, it might be a PR blunder, but it doesn't mean the PR staff's responsible.
No, it's a blunder in the sense that they, had to cancel it an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever, before it was scheduled. Coming this morning. Had they just waited to schedule it, and then work this whole stuff out behind, the scenes, and if things came about where it has, if it came out that it was a failed physical and they had to, that's really not on the Giants. That would just be bad luck for the Giants. It would just, but I don't think
it has nothing to do with Matt Chisholm because the Giants failed the physical. I'm not going to blame Matt Chisholm and the Giants PR staff. I'm just not.
Carlos Correia, unless he has something that is going to prevent him from starting this year, if he's got an injury that's going to need fixed, or if he's, some
what if there was a PED suspension?
Something like that.
What are those suspensions? 80 games? It could be half the year, right?
Something like that. Yeah. But if it's not anything like that, he'll be in somebody's starting lineup opening day. He's not. This medical issue is not like, oh, it's so bad Carlos can't play. No, he will be in the starting lineup somewhere opening day. Let's hope it's in San Francisco, or in this case, it's in Yankee Stadium for the Giants, where they open the season. I don't see this as like, this is so earth-shattering. This either a issue that they're concerned about the length of the contract, and they want to put protections in it.
It better be not just the length. There better be some real injury concerns, right?
Yeah, there's got to be something, whether it's degenerative disc disease, or
what if he's got some narrowing of the spine or something? There's people that have those kinds of conditions that they don't ever really know about until they're discovered in a routine physical.
My doctor told me, he says, when the Giants send him stuff, he said, there are guys' spines that look awful,
right?
And they never have a problem. And he says it's so hard, because the Giants are asking him, hey, what would you recommend? And he's like, he honestly says, I can't make a recommendation, because if I say the guy, don't sign him because of this issue, and he goes on and has a great career, or vice versa, sign him and his back, breaks down a year into the contract, it's tough. He just says, this is what I see.
Let's welcome in Rye here. Rye, with the stocking cap, was attacked today. How you doing, fresh? Well, first of all, how was your day? Did you go to Niners? Did you do some interviews? Were you attacked on the way to Niners? Give us the full rundown, and then we'll get into Carlos Correia after we get into the brutal attack.
Did you talk about it yet?
We've already done a couple segments. We had a criminologist on. We had
you bumped Wotus for a criminologist.
Yeah, Wotus is going to join us in the morning. He'll be with us.
I saw that. Oh, I'm so excited.
Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. The great.
We
Ron
do have
Wotus
fingerprints.
By the way, all you Giants fans, if you want to hear a little inside conversation with the great Ron Wotus, join us tomorrow morning. I know a lot of you actually have work, believe it or not, but if you don't, check out Ron Wotus on the Krueg Show tomorrow at 10. We're going to have Ronnie on before I bolt down to Santa Clara for camp. So I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to what he I actually contacted him 2 days ago to come on to just talk about Carlos Correia and how he would look at shortstop and the Crawford's challenges at short versus third versus second, baseball stuff, right? Reaction to Carlos. So, he I don't know that he has any insight into why the deal didn't get done, why the press conference got moved and that kind of thing, or delayed or whatever, postponed. but he is going to join me tomorrow at 10 a.m. So tune in tomorrow, 10 a.m. on the Krueg Show for a little Ron Wotus discussion on the Giants. But go ahead, Rye. How was your day?
Well, first I got to ask, so Dan, I mean, your setup is phenomenal right now. I'm a little confused. Is that a green screen?
No, that's a different part of the house. Danny's having issues.
Oh, well, it's cool. Wait, is that indoors?
It is indoors. It's the room addition I finished a little while ago. This is the
whoa,
the
recessed lighting.
Wow, I feel like this is the move, Dan. You should just set up in there.
I was going to put my.
Wait a second. Is that where I'm going to be laying for during spring training? Yeah. Is that?
There's Buster.
Oh, there I
am. Hey. Buster can be way more part of the show here too, because he can just crawl on up.
Buster's really comfortable in that leather.
Yeah, he likes that. So we had we got my wife's guitar back there. I got to bring in Wiggins, the Monster Slam, and put it right behind me here.
Do you play the guitar?
No, my wife does.
Oh, okay.
I don't. I'm not musical at all.
I can see
you play the bike at all.
Do you ever John Belushi that thing? I gave my love to Becky or whatever. Then just destroy that thing.
So this is actually was the back of this was the patio, and I enclosed it, and
wow.
So because that's the back of the house, that's a bedroom there, and
your Giants Niner fans on you. Let's see the permit for that add-on.
Yeah, exactly.
Was
that a permitted add-on?
It is. Yes, I'm dealing with I'm dealing with the city of Peoria right now on it. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we're working on it. Yeah.
So let's get back to Ryan.
All right.
Okay, what happened today?
Oh my God. So actually the funny thing is the only people that I have even heard it.
Not this guy again.
Yeah, it's fine.
Get rid.
The only guy that's even heard it is I called my best friend right away. Cause I was like, I knew he'd get like kind of like a kick out of the shock of it sort of, and it wouldn't like freak him out. And then I thought, Larry, you were on the air. So I actually called Dan. I just talked because I didn't want to like call my parents. I didn't want to call my girlfriend. She's with me because I didn't want her to like freak out. God, they're probably going to hear this and then be pissed at me that I didn't say anything beforehand. But
they're
anyway,
listening right now.
Anyway, yeah. So driving down to Solo today because the schedule got moved up. We didn't know it was going to be a Tuesday thing. Larry couldn't do it today, but they needed some content for the podcast and Gridiron or whatever. So I did end up clutching that. So that's the good news. But on the way, I've got my little nicotine pouches. Yeah, I know, right? Maybe it's karma. I'm not sure. But I didn't have my ID with me. So I was like, ooh, I need more. I need to get some of these. I haven't had one all day. And I'm driving up. I'm drinking my coffee. And I was like, I simply need some. But then I realized I didn't have my ID. And so I was like, oh, I can't quite go to like a 7-Eleven because there's probably like a 90% chance they don't allow me without an ID. So I was like, you know what? Let me just like throw in like a smoke shop. Like those guys don't give a shit. They're selling all sorts of crazy stuff over there. So I was like, yeah. So I pulled off to some like kind of, I don't know if I'd say sketchy. I guess I would say sketchy part of Milpitas, and just ran into the smoke shop, grabbed my can, walked out. And so for backstory, I haven't had a car now for a really long time. But I'm actually borrowing a family friend's car, this like silver, like 2001 BMW. It's got like, 250,000 miles on it. But that's just to say, I've only driven the thing like maybe 4 or 5 times, had it for like 2 weeks. So it's not like I automatically know, oh, that's definitely my car. It looks like kind of a generic silver car, could be any make, any model. So, I kind of was absent-minded, like thinking about the questions I'm going to ask, all that kind of stuff. And so I just walk out. I got my can, and I'm just looking at my phone. I'm like checking the Waze, trying to figure out like the best angle. Then I was like double checking some text with Lawrence. Meanwhile, I'm just like clicking the unlock button and then just like on the handle, like trying to open it, not like aggressively, but just like casually. And I'm like, God damn, like what's going on here? And then I was like, oh dang, do I need to like stick the key in? And this is meanwhile, I'm still looking at my phone, kind of like out of it, just whatever. All of a sudden, just this, I hear like footsteps, and then all of a sudden this dude freaking had like the craziest eyes I've ever seen. And like, it freaked me the hell out. I thought he was just like going to try and jump me or something. And I was like, holy shit, like, what do I do here? First thought is like, oh my God, like,
Where
I'm gonna be
you're
late.
in your car, you're walking.
No,
you're
no,
standing
no,
next
no,
to your car?
no. So here's the thing. I'm outside my car, outside what I thought was my car. It's just a silver car. And I'm trying to open it and I'm kind of on my phone, kind of looking whatever. Plus I've got the beanie on, so maybe I look a little sketchy. All of a sudden this dude just comes out and charges me and just starts hitting me with like these like MMA leg kicks, like right to the shin, right to the side of the body, like to the oblique. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on right now? This guy looks like he wants to actually murder me. Like, what's going on here? Freaking kicks my phone out of my hand. And I'm just like, dude, what's going on? And he's just like, oh, I'm keeping this phone. I'm like you're staying here. I'm calling the cops, blah, 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 blah. And then I go on to realize with the context as he keeps talking with these crazy eyes, he thought that I was trying to break into his car. The car that I was driving, it was looked identical, but it was actually a Lexus, this car and so my car was like 2 cars over. So I just simply like was kind of dazed and out of it and tried to open the wrong car. I think we've all been there a little bit, you know, it's same type of car, especially if you're not really paying attention. All this guy's like, oh, he's like, you're not getting away. He took the phone, and like, meanwhile, he's just beating me with these like crazy kicks. Like, what the hell? I don't know if this guy knows MMA. Like, I don't know what the move here is. Like, I'm certainly not trying to get in a fight right now, especially with my Niner credential on. And the guy, all of a sudden, he's just like with these crazy ass eyes, like, I please, come on, punch me. I dare you to punch me. Punch me, man. Punch me. See what happens. And I was just like, dude, like, I don't know how to explain this to you, but like, look, like I literally am working for the Niners. Like I'm going on and he was like, no fucking way. So apparently what happened is 15 minutes before I got there was another guy in a beanie that actually broke into this guy's car. Broke in and like stole some stuff and like kind of fucked it up. And so that guy dipped. This guy like was calling the cops, like trying to figure it out. He thought that I was that guy, and I was so dumb that I came back. And all of a sudden, he's like telling me to. He's like, come in the restaurant. He's like, I dare you to walk inside my restaurant. We have cameras all over there. This is my property. Please, just walk in. And anyway, this whole thing goes on. I'm just like freaking shook. The guy's got my phone. He threw it on the ground and stomped on it. Like, what the hell, man? And so, yes. And this guy, like, he had the craziest eyes, like he was going to do something shocking. And
did he say anything about Carlos Correia?
No. Okay. But I know that was definitely part of it. Anyway, right. Smash cut to, I'm just like waiting outside. And I was just like, dude, okay, if you want me to wait for the cops, I will do that. But like, you're kind of screwing me here. Like I have to get to work. I don't know what the hell's going on. Like, I don't understand why you can't understand. Look, I have keys. That's my car. I was just spacey out of it. And he thought I was like, some crazy man on drugs or something. And then all of a sudden he comes back and he's like, kind of like calming down a little bit. And then he went and looked at the security footage, saw that it was actually a different guy and not me. And then he gave me the phone back, and I'm still like, what the hell's, I'm scared of this guy. He owned a Vietnamese restaurant, I guess. And so all of a sudden he's like, all right, hey man, okay, I'm sorry. Wait, come in. And so
now he's going to pay you off with food.
Well, so I walk in and the guy still kind of has like this little bit of crazed look. Like it's almost like he was probably fantasizing about,
I'm a maniac, and I just tried to attack you. But let me make you a little. Let me make you a little lunch.
Yeah, but so I think he was like fantasizing. You know how that is, where sometimes it's like he's probably like, God, if I was only there when he was like breaking in, I could have whatever. All of a sudden, the guy's just like, dude, you have no idea. I
almost numbchucked your ass.
No, he was like, you have no idea. Like I'm sorry about this, but like, dude, I'm having a bad day. If you punched me, he said, if you punched me like I was asking you to, or if you walked inside the restaurant, and then he just pulled from his back pocket just a massive serrated blade with the freaking leather cover off it. He had been holding it. That's why he was kicking me. He had it was a freaking like massive hunter's knife with like a serrated blade that you'd use to like gut a pig. And he was like, dude, if you literally like stepped in my restaurant or like put hands on me, because he knew he had the cameras and like he probably felt like he could spin it. Like I attacked him first and he still thought I was the guy who was trying to break into his car. He thought he was just going to straight up stab my ass. Like, how insane is that? And I was just like, oh my God. And then he went on to tell me that like, he also, he's also an instructor for like a jujitsu gym, which all of a sudden I'm like, okay, yeah. I mean, those fucking leg kicks hurt like a motherfucker, dude. And so, but anyway, and then I was so shooken up and I was just kind of in shock. So I was like, oh my God, like if I engaged in any way, like
he's probably watched the entire 5th season of Cobra Kai.
Oh, definitely. But anyway, I like walk. He's like, come here, and he like gave me. He's like, here, yeah, like me and my brother make these beers, and then he just handed me 2 beers, and I was like, oh, okay, man.
Try my homemade beer. I know I tried to kick your ass, and I was gonna shank you with a really ugly knife, but have a beer on me.
But yeah,
it's always a good save.
So anyway, I just like got in my car, I like wrote down the name of the restaurant. Like I know the guy. I don't know. Like I'm not, I don't think there's any need for any sort of legal anything, but it was just like, dude, just like kicked me like 7 times with like an MMA kick. I'm freaking got Charlie horses all over the side of my body. My phone was like,
on the way to Niners?
Yes. My phone was thrown on the ground, freaking stomped on. Dude was holding a knife.
He must have just heard the Carlos Correia news.
And so I just was like, okay. And then I just left. And then I ended up being like, 5-10 minutes late to the Niner locker room. Couldn't really use that one as an excuse. That's a little bit of a long story. Needs some context. But I ended up still getting 2 interviews, so that was good. But man, I'm still pretty shook. I just got Banks and Brunskill, just some classics.
Jaguayo 56 says, here's $2. This sounds like Farhan sent one of his goons, LOL.
Yeah. The funny thing also, I was like, you know what? Am I dressed like too much of a slob today? And I was like, probably not. Like, yes, I didn't shower, but like I'm wearing a beanie.
Maybe it's fine. The beanie.
Yeah. He totally thought I was some like spaced out freaking crackhead.
Because Romo says Ryan pissed off Pasquale and he sent one of his footmen to handle business.
You sure? Was Willie McGinnis anywhere near?
I wish.
Did you guys see that, by the way?
Oh my God!
The footage of Willie McGinnis.
Yeah,
talk about a guy who just ruined his whole career.
Yeah. And what was with all the dudes in the white outfits? I mean, they looked like everybody was wearing white pants and white shirts when they came in. It was weird.
Everybody knows you don't wear white after Labor Day, right, Danny? Is that what you're going to say?
No, it just looked weird. I mean,
no, it was
first
weird.
Thought it was.
And then you don't think that everything's on camera? You hit a guy with a bottle, and then you threw the bottle on the couch and walked out.
This guy thought he was like being smart by like, because he had me on the camera, and I was just like, dude.
So the moral of the story is don't forget your ID.
Also, people are saying like,
oh, have you? All you can do. This is what happens when you're looking for that skull.
Yeah, but so okay, he said. So people are like, oh, tell me you like paid for the phone. That actually would have been like really bad if like my phone camera or something cracked, because I film all of our stuff on there. Luckily, my case is just so excellent that somehow it still survived.
Did you get a free bowl of pho, whatever pho is?
I just don't really want to go back there. But here's another thing, and I don't want to get I don't want this to go away. It could go, but I was like, looked the guy up, and like I was like reading like, because I was trying to find his name, and like I was reading like the story of like their restaurant and everything, and it's like it was like him and his brother, like they like fled Vietnam like during the war as like kids, and like all this kind of like he's probably got a little PTSD. I'm telling you, those eyes. I was like, what the hell is happening? Like, is this guy trying to mug me? Like, I was like, I don't.
Something tells me you're not going to be hanging in Milpitas too much.
No.
Kelch Chronicle said, I heard some crazy nicotine stories, but this one tops them all. Claire Sard 49 said, moral of the story is don't underestimate Pasquale. And thank you. Yeah. How about this one? Matthew Mears. Moral of the story is there's some crazy mofos in the Bay Area.
Yeah, that was kind of the moral. I mean, I think the other moral is like in those kind of situations, you got to just kind of, I think I played it correctly where I just kind of chill, like tried to diffuse it. If he caught me on a different day, or maybe if I just got done working out or something, like maybe, I might have engaged, and then it's like, fuck, I could be in the hospital.
Said newest Krueg show sponsor.
Oh, seriously.
I'm Larry
Yeah.
Krueger for buck knives.
See if we can go. See if we can instead of suing the guy, we can go.
He's got a
you know,
He's got a 6-year commercial breakdown. We're
see
talking
if we
about get to Milpitas. When you're in Milpitas, when I'm in Milpitas, I always have blankety blank.
see if we can see if we can get this guy. Kind of blackmail him into like, hey, you're supporting the Krueg show for the next 5 years.
Yeah,
That would
exactly.
be
Michael McKeon. Whose workers' comp are you covered by? Sounds like Larry if you were covering for him. Oh, great.
Oh, I know. This is how you know I'm getting like older. Is I was like, one of the first things that popped in my mind was I was like, oh shit, I just changed my health insurance. I'm not sure, like, I'm not 100% sure it's gonna be active today. Like, if I can't go to the freaking emergency room.
Nick Chase is not a rat, but Ryan, that is a legit case of assault. You could have called the popo and reported it. It was in the wrong to assault. He was in the wrong to assault you. Yeah, well, there's no question about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the I was crunched for time also, and I was just Ugh.
Man, how did you react when he threw your phone on the floor? I mean, I would have drop kicked the guy right there. Of course,
Well,
I'd be dead right now because of
yeah.
the buck knife. But
He's hitting me with these freaking like MMA leg kicks, and then I'm just like holding like my hands out, like, dude, what? And then he just freaking punted my phone, and then just freaking stomped on it. But my case, I mean, honestly, it should be a commercial.
Did it break?
No, that should be a commercial for this case, this limitless case I have that just it never cracks.
You can get attacked by crazy people in Milpitas, and still your phone is going to remain safe. MF, the most important thing is getting the Banks and Brunskill interviews. Thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nick J says, highly doubtful that happens in Lafayette.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
The funny thing, my dad also has like a famous story of like he once got mugged when he, late night and, he's drinking, whatever. But like he once got mugged by a bunch of guys and they were just trying to get his wallet. And he was just so prideful that he didn't even have any money or anything in his wallet. And then he just still wouldn't give it to him, totally got stabbed. So,
oh no,
that was also running through my mind. Like
Nick Caracilla, moral of the story, get off the nicotine. Anonymous says, funny, in Beverly Hills, there is a faux restaurant called 9021 Faux. Oh man. Giant, we got this one from Manny Machado. He says Giants mixed up Correia's medical records with Ryan's.
Oh, exactly.
There you go.
Wait, so what is the latest on Correia? Because I've been kind of out of it today.
He got stabbed.
Well, Dan talked him out of going to the presser, and then now we're just trying to keep it a secret from Giants fans. No.
Yeah. Actually,
the Giants had a press conference set for 11 a.m. and they canceled it 3 hours before. They didn't just cancel the press conference, though. They also canceled his radio hit on the flagship station. So it makes you wonder if the deal's falling apart. I mean, I just felt like maybe at first, maybe it was COVID or maybe somebody in the Giants or his family has COVID and they just want to avoid it. Then somebody said, well, his wife's pregnant with their second child and maybe it's just about, he doesn't want to, he doesn't want to travel out here to the Bay Area during the Christmas holiday because of that. But then it came out that there was something that was flagged in the medicals on the physical. Susan Slusser has said it's not a back injury, but it could easily be a labrum. It could be a rotator cuff. It could be a partial tear, a full tear. It could be any number of things that there are people walking around with injuries they don't realize they have. Who knows? Maybe something flagged. I suggested to Danny that is it possible even that the Giants got a little, little buyer's remorse. I mean, Dog ripped it, said it's not only just a bad deal, that it's the worst deal in the history of the franchise. He's a pretty knowledgeable Giants fan. There's a lot of people that feel like the deal is 3 to 5 years too long and it's going to look really, really bad on the backside. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he got nervous. Danny said that that Correia still has the Giants stadium like we have here in the background, that he still has that on his what, Danny, on his IG or
Twitter?
On his Twitter.
Yeah.
So, maybe to me, it makes more sense that that the Giants would want to get out, or they would want maybe additional protections if there was let's say he had a partially torn labrum in his shoulder or a partially torn rotator cuff, and he just didn't even realize it, but he just, but now it needs to be surgically addressed and he's going to be out until July. Well, they may want to, not be involved. I mean, the way that's going to play. If today they had the press conference and tomorrow he's out until July with some kind of an injury, Farhan's going to be the one who gets worked over, by the fan base, and probably justifiably so, to be honest. I mean, that's negligence on Farhan's part. So,
I mean, how do you guys feel like the one thing because obviously I'm happy they got Correia, like he was the prize and all that, but they're definitely like when I saw Dansby Swanson signed for 177, I was like, it's not that much worse than Correia. 6 years would be kind of nice.
As opposed to 13 years.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, 6 years for Dansby Swanson is a screaming deal compared to 13 years for Correia. So I don't know. I know it's Val Ramos makes a good point though. He says Giants have the money, so who cares? So I mean, I get that.
This is a good tweet I just found. Searching for it. This is Carlos Correia leaving the Giants medical office after failing his physical.
Actually, don't play that. Actually, it's.
Sorry.
Yeah, we don't want that.
The Kaiser Sose.
Yeah, we're. It's amazing the things that people will YouTube will flag. Brian says, Correia is a Giant, and this is all about them finding a minor concern, and they're just adjusting the contract a bit because they are committed to 13 years. No worries here. Well,
that's kind of
okay.
Kind of what I'm thinking. But hey, I thought Judge was coming to the Giants too. So nobody knows. Nobody really knows. It's interesting to me that it's been quiet on Boros camp. It's been quiet. The Giants, nothing's been said. The one thing that's pretty interesting to me, though, is Steve Cohn came out, and he came late trying to get a deal for the Mets and play Correia at third. He said he was going to go $300 million. And Boros told him, this is according to Steve Cohn, he says, I'm competitive. Money's not
300 for how many years, though? Was it more AAV or less?
I think it was down to 23 million, so it was like 13. It was
less.
Yeah, it was less. But who knows? Maybe there's something going on with Steve Cohn, and he's decided to bump it up because he wants to win a championship at any cost. His tax bill is going to be over $100 million. His payroll for the Mets next year is at 375? I think somebody said, or 275.
He's paying 85 for two pitchers.
Yeah, his payroll is unbelievable. But he says, "Hey, I didn't get to be the number one hedge guy because I'm not I'm competitive and I want to win, and money's not an issue to him. He's making his money somewhere else. So even if he loses a little revenue each year, he's going to make money just on owning the team and what the team's worth. Plus, he's making money. This is what I don't understand. Most baseball teams run their operation like a business. They run it because they want to make money. They want to make a profit each year. But guys like Cohn that make their money somewhere else, it's just moving money somewhere else. Guys that have pride and are competitive, and they get the world championship, and then all of a sudden, hey, I bought this franchise for what did he buy it for? $2 billion a couple years ago?
Something
like that. Yeah. So all of a sudden he wins a World Series and it's worth $7-8 billion, and he turns around and sells it and he makes, $3-4 billion. That's what these guys do. That's why I
think it's just a matter of, it's like new ownership always wants to be aggressive. They always want to put their mark on it. And it's like the Giants, they're kind of made men. Like they won 3 World Series. Cohn is like, I want to, whatever. I have a quick non sequitur because I think it's kind of interesting. NFL wise, we're talking odds. We're talking awards race.
Right.
What do you think of Jalen Hurts went from the prohibitive favorite -180 last week to now +350, and now Patrick Mahomes is -300 because people are assuming Hurts is going to be out the last 3 games. I think that's kind of unfair.
Well, I mean, you saw Gibson fall on Hurts's right shoulder. I don't think there's any doubt that that's a separated shoulder.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what it looked like to me. So I don't if that is indeed the case, there's no chance he plays this week, and he probably doesn't play next week.
They're saying
then you're
they
talking about
haven't
missing
ruled
a
him
couple
out.
games.
That's just talk. Probably they say they haven't ruled him out for Saturday, but
No, but I mean, you saw the injury.
yeah, you're
I mean,
crazy to play him.
That looked like a full separation. That's a
they have
DN
no
who's
reason
worth
to,
like
too.
270,
Yeah,
So I mean that a 270-pound man falls on your right shoulder. Something tells me that it's Minshew time.
But so isn't that I don't know. I feel like Hurts
They
should
are
still
held to like a
be.
pretty high standard as far as games played compared to other
Yeah.
sports. I mean, they expect these guys to play every game.
I know. It's like he's lost 1 game. He's been awesome. Other interesting notes, though. This one I think is absolutely bananas. So, of course, Brock Purdy was last week after the coming in and playing well, and then the second game where he played even better was up to 30-1 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. After last weekend, he's now the second favorite at +750.
Offensive Rookie of the Year to Kenneth Walker, or who's the favorite?
Garrett Wilson.
Oh, Garrett Wilson. Okay.
-290. But I mean, like, if he only plays like 5 games, can they? I mean, I don't know. I guess it's narrative, but
I mean, that's wild. So Brock Purdy could play 5 games and win the Rookie of the Year, but if Hurts misses 3 games, he's going to lose the MVP.
Exactly.
Seems
And then
weird.
shout out Sean Proctor and myself. Nick Bosa now -130 to win Defensive Player of the Year. I'm a little
that's
nervous
the other one.
about
Nick
it.
Bosa, I think is it 7 sacks? Let me see what it is, but I think it's 7
To break the
sacks
record.
for Bosa.
7 in the last 3 games to break.
Yeah,
the,
does Bosa get 7 in the final 3 games?
I'm worried because I'm worried they're gonna, sit him out or like rotate him out like a bunch. Like he's not gonna play that much down the stretch.
Flav says here's 999. He says don't understand the Giants at all. We had the formula: good young staff, big ballpark, supplement with free agents, win games with 3 runs. Instead, shortened the ballpark, going for home run hitters, all about profit now. Well, I mean, my whole thing is you got to remember this: where are the hitters coming from if you don't go out and sign them? Because you don't really have prospects. You're drafting lots of pitchers in the draft. Where are if you can sign pitchers, you can draft pitchers. You don't seem like you can sign hitters until this offseason. So, or if you have to overpay dramatically to sign hitters. So, I mean, where are the hitters going to come from? They're going to have to come from somewhere. And you're not producing them in the farm system. So it's a tough call. I've got this one from Donald Spring. He says, I remember months ago when Krueger predicted our main pickup would be Mitch Haniger. Just LOL at this offseason. Yeah, I mean, Mitch Haniger went to Mitty, and he's a Bay Area guy and wanted to play in the Bay Area. So that was a no-brainer. But isn't it amazing how much better Mitch Haniger seems after when you combine him with Carlos Correia? If you say, the Giants had an off season and they got Carlos Correia and Mitch Haniger among their free agent signings, it sounds all right. Giants had a free agent off season and they talked about Correia and they talked about Judge and they signed Mitch Haniger, and it's like, what? And suddenly it's like that looks terrible. So it's just amazing how take one guy out and the difference in Correia. And I do understand that the Giants had to do something, right? They had to do something. They got a ton of money and they're way behind the Padres and Dodgers, and they had to go spend some of it. And yeah, they probably spent some of it unwisely in this particular signing, and they may have a little buyer's remorse. But still, I mean, you're asking the fans to invest a ton of money in supporting your club. you got to reward them by spending some money on the players, on the people that they're paying to see. And if you're not going to do that, they're going to stop buying tickets at those advanced prices, those excessive prices. So it's a tough one. It really is. Al Perez on the Niner front says, I think the 49ers win out and the Eagles lose out. The Niners are the number one seed. I don't think the Eagles are going to lose out. I think they get the Cowboys, but then they get somebody they can handle. Who's the team that the Eagles can handle that they get? I forget who it was, but one of the teams I saw of the three, they should beat.
They have Saints at home,
Saints.
and they have Giants at home.
I mean, they probably could beat both those teams, but I would say Saints they're going to beat at home.
Who's that? The Vikings? Oh, the Eagles. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think the Eagles are going to. Yeah. If the Niners run the table and Philly loses down the stretch, all three games.
They get the 1 seed. Yeah. They'd have to lose.
Seed.
And then Shanahan probably is coach of the year.
Spencer says Casey Schmidt, the third baseman, is going to be up this year. He's a stud. All right. I believe Will Clark told me the other day on 95.7 The Game that his two favorite prospects in the entire Giant farm system were Casey Schmidt, the third baseman, and Vaughn Brown, the center fielder. And I'll say this, Will knows players, right? So it makes me feel a lot better about those two guys. MF says Kalia Davis, legit. I'll say this, Kalia Davis is really good. I went and spent the time and YouTubed his college film. He's about, first of all, he used to be a linebacker. Now he's a D lineman. He's about 6'1" and change and about 315 to 320 pounds. So he's very built almost exactly like DJ Jones. But you know how DJ Jones was pretty quick? This guy's fast with a motor. So I really like Kalia Davis, especially if he's in shape. I talked to him 3-4 weeks ago, and he's interesting, man. I mean, he is really interesting because you're talking about a guy who moves like a linebacker, but is close to 320 pounds. So, and the fact that they opened his practice window with Kinlaw makes me think that, and I don't know, I'm going to ask tomorrow when I go down there, but I don't know. I know the Niners can only bring a certain number of guys off of the IR. So I think it's two more.
They got two more.
And Ridgeway and Elijah Mitchell and Trey are the four guys that are on there right now, Trey Lance. So they can only bring two off, but I don't know if Kalia Davis counts on that list. I don't think
he does because he was on what it was like an IR inactive.
NFI, the non-football injury list.
Okay. Yeah. So the fact that he did not, so maybe he's eligible to come back, which if they're putting him in the practice window, may mean that Ridgeway is not coming back with the pec. That might be.
I mean, Ridgeway's got a torn pec, I believe.
Is it a torn pec?
I think it's a torn pec.
I don't think he's
partially torn pec.
Coming back.
Donald Springs says last year the Giants were bad and boring. I'm not going through it again. As a diehard Giants fan, life is too short.
True.
Well, I don't know. I would say I would actually argue the other way. That, you know what? Life is too short. And life is too short to deny yourself a nice afternoon at the yard watching Major League Baseball just because the Giants are in a down cycle, especially, less than a decade after they won 3 World Series. It's like, I don't know. I mean, to me, I'm all about, sending messages and that kind of thing. But are you really going to boycott the Giants all summer simply because they are in a little bit of a down cycle right now? That seems a little excessive. I don't know. How do you guys see that?
Well, I actually kind of related to that. If you give me 1 second.
He says $50 to park, $20 for beer. I hear you. Believe me, I hear you.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder what the ticket prices are going to be like this year.
I know. That's the other question. And how many people will be buying them? See, one of the things I threw out to Danny was that I think the Giants may have buyer's remorse. Obviously, there's something medical, and I'm not saying that they're creating something. But let's just say they signed Carlos Correia And with baseball kind of down, and with the expectations of Judge being so high and him not being Judge, I was saying to Danny Rye that Carlos Correa is a really good baseball player, but he doesn't transcend the game. And I don't know that he's going to put people in the seats. And to give a $350 million commitment, and then a week later say, something came up in the physical. What if they hadn't sold any tickets really of note? I mean, let's say they sold a few, but let's just say they were expecting to sell 10,000 tickets and they sold like 100. You know what I mean? Would they then get buyer's remorse easier? Would they then go try to attempt to fail them on a physical? Would they be more eager to do that because they thought they were getting player X and instead they're getting player Y? They thought they were getting a player that would move the needle and excite Giants fans and get people to run to the ticket booth. And instead they got a $350 million 13-year commitment and very little excitement as far as ticket sales from the fans. The only reason I bring that up is because I think it's in this market, in this climate, coming off the year the Giants had. You guys know as much as I do that, if we talk Warriors or Niners in the live stream, it typically gets more than the Giants. But then, like when the Giants went and got Correia, there were like 700-800 people in the live stream, and it was like this huge outpouring of Giants fans. So they're there, but they're a little bit dormant. Do you think there's any chance that they saw these ticket sales immediately after the signing and got cold feet because they were nil?
Well, I'm interested to hear your take on this. So I was in Costco with my gal friend doing a little shopping.
Yeah.
And I saw the Giants, they have a 2-pack. You tell me if you think this is a good deal, if maybe this is a little bit of desperation. I'm not sure. So they're selling this at Costco. It's 2 lower level tickets to any home game. You can choose whatever game, just $100. And
yeah, I would say that's
Giants
a pretty good
doing
deal.
all kinds of,
but that's
doing all kinds
doesn't that
of
show
little
desperation, guys? I mean, Danny, what do you think? You're more in the ticket game.
So,
are
so look at, I mean, it's lower level. So it's like, those are really good seats, and you can go to any game, select the game you'd like to attend, and the best available seats and sections advertised at time of redemption will be assigned. Like those are all really good seats.
But wait. So wait, it's $50 or
it's $100 for 2 tickets.
But then you're going to have to pay additionally to that?
No.
Okay.
You just get to choose any game you want and anywhere in the lower level, which is seems like a really good deal.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of little things. They did a bunch of things a couple of weeks ago, little packages for Black Friday. They were trying to, give you all these
anonymous with the inside take. That is probably true.
This is Ryan. Those are thought of concept wise over a year ago before it gets to Costco. Yeah, I don't doubt that.
Yeah, these guys, they're trying to market different ways because, they're
trying to be creative. Yeah, they're trying to be creative. They know they need to be creative.
They're trying to get those things sold now too, because if they get into the season and if they're not good,
it becomes a ghost town.
Yeah, then you can't. People will just buy the season ticket off people like me for $10 because the price just drops as it gets closer to game time. It just keeps dropping and dropping. And I mean, you're either going to sell those tickets or you're going to eat them. So guys drop them. That's why I didn't renew, because I don't mind having,
because there's no avenue to offload them in season.
Right. If
you'd rather go the other way and pay a premium and go when you want to go.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mind actually when it's a good team having the tickets. And even if I lost a little bit of money, it's not that big of a deal, because on some games you're going to make more than you paid, and other games you're going to lose. But generally speaking, if you're a season ticket holder to a team like the Dodgers or, St. Louis or Atlanta, you're not going to lose money, because you're going to be able to sell those tickets and either break even and you get your playoff tickets, or you're going to make money. But with the Giants, in 21, I did pretty good because people were
They won
buying
107 games. Yeah.
Yeah. And
There was a
even
lot of
still,
interest.
though, there were games that were Tuesday night games, Monday night games where it was tough to sell those tickets, even when they were in September. It was weird. It was
Paul
like,
Perriman says, has any rookie quarterback ever won a Super Bowl?
Nope.
Let alone a 7th rounder. Unless we have the second coming Montana or Young, we probably ain't winning the Super Bowl. Well, I'll say this is that I'm not saying the Niners are going to win the Super Bowl, but I really don't feel confident in saying they're definitely not going to.
No, I think that there's this narrative out there that it was when the Mahomes thing first started happening, and then all of a sudden Josh Allen kind of came out of nowhere, and Herbert. Now, I think that people, they got so enamored with those kind of guys that they just in their head said, you can only win if you have one of those guys.
Right.
But in reality, Mahomes is the only one that's even won a Super Bowl, and he's only won one. Brady's old ass, he won one.
He won more than one.
He had won more than one, but just like in this recent time period, like on the Bucks, even I'm just thinking like the NFC, like who are they? I understand if there was all these crazy quarterbacks that you had to go up against, but I mean, it might be Purdy versus Minshew versus Heineke versus.
I'll tell you the guy.
Daniel
I'll tell you the team
Jones.
that's the scariest team outside of Philly for me is Detroit.
Yeah, and then Goff. Oh no,
Goff with Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams, and that they're and the fact they play so hard, and Aiden Hutchinson's playing really well at defensive end, and they just seem like they're on a mission, and they're winning all these games down the stretch, and they're in this like magic carpet ride moment for their franchise. Yeah, I mean they scare me way more than Washington, New York Giants, really any of these teams outside of Philly in the NFC. I guess you could say Dallas, but even Dallas just gave up 7.1 yards a carry last week, and Prescott has been a turnover machine. So I don't quite feel nearly I don't have any real fear of Dallas. Paul, we've got this one from Brian who says Hosmer at first, put Brian Reynolds in center, and add 2 relief pitchers. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'd be fine with that. I'd rather have Will Myers than Hosmer, but I would take Hosmer at first. I think all the people ripping Hosmer, he's coming off a bad year, and San Diego wants people in San Diego are like,
last year
they want to get rid of him. San Diego wants to get rid of him, because they paid him a boatload and he's not worth it. But the Giants wouldn't pay him anything. Giants would get him at a minimum, right, Dan?
Yep, minimum, because San Diego's paying the whole salary.
And he hit 277 in the National League
last year. Yeah,
right.
He hit over 270.
277. Go check what the Giant hitters hit last year, and then come back and tell me
barely over 200. Took him to the last week of the season to get over 200.
Yaz, Belt, these guys all were in the low 200s or under 200. We got this one from MF. He says Kinlaw ready. There's a lot of talk that Kinlaw's been ready.
I saw him in the locker room.
Yeah, and how do you look today? I mean, the other day he looked really like happy and comfortable, and he was sitting down with a guy at his locker and just kind of chopping it up a little bit.
Yeah,
he's got a look on his face like he is healthy and ready to roll.
Yeah, for sure. Because he would, we didn't see him for a while there when he was, rehabbing and whatnot. So this has me thinking.
Calba says Kalia Davis is on the NFI list. He can come off and not count towards the IR return count. Well, then Kalia Davis it is, because Kalia Davis, wait until you see Kalia Davis. And this is coming from the guy who said, you're going to love Purdy.
From the producer that brought you Brock Purdy. Now comes Kalia Davis.
Here comes Kalia Davis, everybody. But Kalia Davis is 310, 315, and fast. I mean, that right there. Let's see. Who else is on here? Niners need to sign Jake. Who's Jake? Am I missing something? Jake, Danny
from State Farm.
Jake from State Farm.
Jake McGee. JaVale McGee, I guess. Or
MF says he loves going to games. Yeah, I love going to games too. Just go to
Which games? Football or baseball?
Giants games. He's talking about Giants games.
Giants games. Yeah, I don't really personally want to mess with a Sunday football game unless I've got great seats Otherwise, I enjoy just watching it on TV.
What do you think of this one? Anonymous. Larry, would Correia put more butts in seats, or would the Giants pulling the contract put more butts in the seats? If the Giants pulled that, there would be more seagulls in the stands than people. I agree. If somehow the Giants fans viewed the Giants as just getting cold feet on the expenditure or the years, yeah, I think the blowback would be significant. What do you guys think? I think Anonymous pegged that. This has got to be something that would prevent other teams. I mean, there's the other one too. What if the Giants beg out and the Yankees jump in and pay them and aren't concerned? Then it's Giants fans are going to be hawking the health of Carlos Correia for the next decade to kind of measure if that was the right or wrong move by the Giants. And only time will tell, really, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think of other examples of that. Like, I think Curry maybe maybe he, like, Milwaukee didn't like his health status or something.
Bouncer says Ron Wotus tomorrow at 10 a.m. Heck yeah. Yeah, tune in tomorrow for Wotus. I know MF has been talking about how he wants to hear Wotus. And we will, MF, I promise you, we will get Tim Ryan. I have not forgotten your request for Tim Ryan. Jim Thoroughkill says, Larry, if the Giants pull out of this deal, Farhan is a coward and is who we thought he was. Well, it really depends. It really depends. If they pull out because they got cold feet, yeah. If they pull out because he's got some kind of, he doesn't have a MCL or something and it just showed up, I don't know that you can fault them on this. But I'll say this. If the Giants lose out on Carlos Correia, they will have to pivot to something of significance or there will be hell to pay. Because you think the Judge thing created an expectation? The John Heyman tweet is going to be long forgotten over, this Correia deal falling apart in the 11th hour. That's for sure. So I would say if they don't get Correia, they're not going to be able to just say, you know what? Andrelton Simmons, come on down. Didi Gregorius, hop in there. They're going to have the question somebody threw in the chat earlier, and I didn't put it up there, but is there a young shortstop or center fielder that we're not thinking of that the Giants could trade for and still have a decent offseason? And I said, I thought to myself, I'll throw it to Danny and Rye.
With Correia or without Correia?
I'm saying, let's say Correia deal falls apart and you got all that money back.
No, okay? You're done.
But now you can trade for a shorts. I mean, would you trade for Javi Baez and take on some of that money?
That's not going to do anything to move the needle. If they don't have Correia,
what would you do?
With Correia, they're still short. They need that center fielder, that Brian Reynolds type person.
How about if they went all in for Shohei, Danny?
That probably still makes them short, but it changes everything if you have Shohei, because now you've got somebody to build around and the fans are excited. If you said we lost Correia, but we gained Ohtani, I'd be all over that. But if you lost Correia and they say we added Brian Reynolds, you're lucky if you finish in third place.
Yeah.
And you're not a playoff team.
At that point, you might as well unload prospects on the Pirates and try to beg for O'Neal Cruz.
I'll tell you what, if they lose on Correia, I'm just going to try and start building my young guys. I'm going to.
But what, Danny, what if there's back issues for Luciano?
There was some back issues this winter. They had to shut him down in winter ball. They don't expect it to be long term, but to me, if you don't have Correia, what are you going to get out of trading? How about
Rhys Hoskins? Could you trade for Rhys Hoskins? Would that intrigue you?
It's nice, but it's not. You need stars. You need two stars, and Correia is borderline. He's up there. I don't want to say superstar, but he's a star. you need another star, a Brian Reynolds or a Cedric Mullins, or, player along that category that can play everyday center field, can hit. So that's what they need. And then you build around that next year and you add more to it. Maybe, you try and get an Ohtani. I mean, they have been gearing up for this Correia contract does not prohibit them from going after Ohtani and paying him $50 million a year next year.
You're 100% sure of that.
Yeah, their payroll is low for next year, and there's a lot of money that $16 million.
They're not paying the tax, right?
No, they're not in the tax. They're at $202 million right now with Correia if he sticks. So, and then next year it's even lower. The commitment's really low next year. So this is not an issue of they need Correia to build on, and they need one more player. Like I say, you lose Correia, and every free agent's been signed. Doesn't matter. They don't have the resources to go out and make a trade to get more than one good player. They can get one good player with their minor league system, but to get two, so that's why you need Correia.
Okay, here's my pivot. What do the Giants have?
For on the roster?
No, what do the Giants have more than anything as far as
money?
Assets?
They have money. They have money.
They have tons of money, and they have no real prospects to trade. I totally agree with your assessment, Dan. They can take their prospects, and if they want to put together, Luciano and whatever, they can go make one trade,
yeah, one
good move.
That's it.
They have that in them. They have one good move based on prospects. But what do they have? They have money. Right. What I would do is my pivot would be I would go to the Diamondbacks and offer to take Bumgarner and see if you could get Ketel Marte and Pavin Smith or some combination of a couple young players from the Diamondbacks by taking Bumgarner's contract. You're taking Bum's contract. It's a $40 million commitment, which sounds like absolutely nothing compared to the $350 that they were just going to commit. But you get them to give you Ketel Marte. You still give them prospects. You still are you're trading Luciano. You may have to trade Matos. You may got to trade Hunter Bishop, who's probably popular there. He went to ASU. You may have to trade something more than that. But you trade a good number of prospects with Luciano. He's the key. And you take on Bumgarner's money. But for that, you get Ketel Marte and like a Pavin Smith or Ketel Marte, Pavin Smith, Jake McCarthy, something like that, some combination of a couple young pieces and Ketel Marte. Then at least you got Marte who can play center field. You can make do with Crawford for one more year. You can plug in some younger athletic players, and you do that, and you get it all basically because you're willing to take Bumgarner's $40 million commitment that the Diamondbacks don't want to pay. What do you think? I mean, it would be a creative way to use what you have in great number, which is greenbacks, to send some of them to Arizona, who's, obviously they have more financial issues than the Giants do. And you get some young players coming back. What do you think?
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah, you got to get you have to do that type of creative thing if you're gonna.
Got to be creative. You got to be creative with your money. You got to use your money.
To bring people's bring people's bad contracts on to get another star. One of the better players. So I mean, they've got to do something. We'll see. I mean, this is this is unbelievable, actually, that this would be happening to the Giants. So,
it's such a bad look too. I mean, think about this. This hasn't happened to any other team this offseason.
No.
So that's the other one that's going to be a hard sell to the fans. It's not like, hey guys, you know what, this happens. It happened to this team. No, it doesn't happen. Eli Braunstein says, Larry, it's pronounced pho, not foe. Did you guys know that?
Do you think
it is true?
Do you think this would have ever happened could have happened to on Ned's watch? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so, because he would have.
Ned said this is one of the things he wanted answered, right, Danny? He
Right.
said, I want no surprises coming up
Right.
from the ownership.
Right.
You know, he said you iron out all these things first.
Yeah, I don't want to know. Yeah, you better be dealing with me as the agent straight. Don't be, you got to find out all these things. And and you don't announce this is not the ownership group calling for the press conference. This is the front office. Farhan's job is head of baseball operations. The ownership group, people get on Charles Johnson and all that. He just puts the money out and authorizes, the GM goes to the ownership and says, this is what we want to do. Do we have your blessing? If he does, he pulls the trigger, and Johnson doesn't have, or any of the other owners don't have anything to do with the day-to-day operations and decisions being made with what's going on with the team. So this is Farhan, okay? This is all on Farhan and whoever his underlings are, who he's putting in charge. So this is, people say, well, the ownership did this and this. No, ownership didn't set the press conference. This is set by Farhan. So he needed to know what was happening with Correia, and he should have never said, okay, we're announcing, set up the press conference for Monday morning at 11 or Tuesday. What's today? Tuesday?
I mean, there was no pressure
Tuesday.
to have this press conference.
No, there's no pressure to have this.
They could have easily done it after the holidays and nobody would have batted an eye.
I mean, exactly.
They're looking bad because of the press conference. If this is all just kind of going on behind the scenes, hey, you know what?
Nobody would notice.
There was concerns, and believe me, guys, there were concerns in this. Tell us about it afterwards. Tell us about the labor pains after the baby's born. At this point, Giants fans are like, oh my God. Paul Pearman says I trade Correia for a cap firing.
This stuff should have never, ever got out, this press conference, and had all these things that come up, because what happens is with these medicals, a lot of times the doctors aren't in to review them. Other times it's, communication. Maybe things are getting delayed this time of year, getting everything in. So you don't even bother to set up a press conference until you have everything, all your ducks in a row. This is like childish. This is the worst look that you can have, by setting up a press conference and then all of a sudden, an hour before, 2 hours before, you find something and you're concerned and you call it off. No. And if it was something from Correia's camp that all of a sudden, Scott Boras says, hey, guess what? We just got a better offer from, somebody else. And we're thinking of, and, I don't know. I can tell you, I've had deals that I have actually signed the contract to move, somebody's money, and they call me 2 weeks later. They've even had, because what I do, they have actually 30 days to look over the policy, and they could actually cancel it. And it's happened once or twice, but it doesn't happen often because I make sure I'm closing down the deal. You got to know, like, I can tell sometimes with people, I just get up and walk away because I can tell, you know what, you're wasting my time. You're trying to do this, and this to me, and you're trying to get this out. And I'm just like, you know what, go find somebody else.
You're not going to get led around by the nose.
No, I don't need your money that bad. Believe me.
I know.
Just
Jim Thoroughkill says, Larry, if this happens, fans will be yelling, fire his ass till his ass is fired. That's all I ask.
Hey, if this does happen, there is some truth. If this does fall apart and it's not something that, like, let's say it falls apart and it's because some medical reasons given, and then Correia goes out and signs with somebody else. And it's
going to look bad.
It's going to look that to me. That's
It's going to look like
grounds.
the Giants got cold feet.
That would be grounds for firing, because that would mean that you're not competent enough to close a deal and read the atmosphere of the room, what's going on. Because the only way this doesn't come back and look bad on the Giants is if there is something and it does keep him from signing somewhere else with the same kind of money. Maybe, he goes somewhere else and only gets a 2 to 3 year deal at, $60 million for 3 years or something, whatever. That's the only way this doesn't come back on the Giants, is if there is some damaged goods in it and everybody else in the league has, is gun shy.
Oh, yeah.
too.
I mean, there better be other teams that are standing shoulder to shoulder with the Giants, or the Giants look bad, or at least they're isolated, and then it all becomes about the future. How does he play in the future? Kevin Fontana says this could be a movie, The Grinch That Stole the Giants season.
Actually, this makes a lot of sense too. What Anonymous says.
If Correia knew he was injured or would have a bad physical, he would not have opted out of the Twins deal.
Yeah, because he had a 3-year deal. I want to say
That's a good point.
It was like 45 a year or something like that, wasn't it? Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was big. It was big money. I think it might have been 35. I thought it was 35 a year, but I'd have to look.
Maybe it was 35 a year. Yeah.
Rye, what did you think of the Warriors? They get trounced by the Knicks tonight in the Garden.
I mean, so I didn't actually watch the game. I did see some highlights of Wiseman looking pretty not great, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's to be expected. I mean, how the hell did they beat? Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, how the hell did they beat the Raptors? Like the Raptors are reeling.
Well, you know what happened is they found out that I bet against them. And
that's exactly it.
That was it. I got this one, 49er mailbag from Eric Branch, who we know well. It's entitled, "With Brock Purdy dealing, is it time to deal Trey Lance?" What's your guys' read on where the Niner quarterback room is as far as, Purdy's played well. They still invested a ton in Trey. The locker room still has a lot of guys who love Jimmy. And there's a lot of people like Peter King who keep talking about Tom Brady finishing in San Francisco. So what's the Niner quarterback room in an ideal world? What's their quarterback room next year?
Honestly, I kind of don't want Brady. I'd rather Rodgers. If Rodgers wants to come here, I'm in. Brady, I'd rather just stick with Purdy and Lance. Let it go. I mean, what's kind of insane? It's obviously the mock drafts are starting to come out now that, all the teams are, fans are starting to root for their teams to lose and whatnot. Like,
right.
The quarterback, I mean, it's interesting. I kind of feel like everyone thought that, oh my God, we're in this golden age of quarterbacks where there's freak shows coming out every year. And they're going to be studs. I think we just had a couple really good years. It seems like, I don't know, the past like 3 drafts and then also just like going forward, I just like, where are the quarterbacks that are like sure things? I saw a mock draft that had like, it had in the top 10, it had like 4 or 5 quarterbacks going. It had like Anthony Richardson going 8. Like, what the hell? Like, what
I gotta think
doing?
that I saw the Tankathon mock draft, and it had the Alabama kid going 1. Yeah. It had the Ohio State kid going like 3.
Yeah.
And then it said that the third quarterback taken was going to be Will Levis from Kentucky.
Levis.
And he was like 6, let's say. And then there was a big drop off. And I'm thinking, okay, even if those guys all are in this draft, and I don't think all those guys are better than Trey, I really don't. But let's just say they all went in the top 10 and you pick between 10 and 30.
Oh my God, you're so happy.
Wouldn't you want Trey Lance? I personally think, I know there's people that are like really eager to say, oh, Trey Lance would only fetch a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick. I don't think your value goes up or down as quite as dramatically as the opinions of these quarterbacks on Twitter. So I just think that there's more value in a good young quarterback prospect like Trey Lance than maybe not 3 number ones, but he's not a 3rd or 4th round pick. I think you could still get like 15th pick or 20th pick or something like that. I think you could get a late 1st round pick or a mid to late 1st round pick for Trey Lance. I really believe that. I might be wrong, but I think that's probably the case.
I mean, let me just go through from 2014 on, because that's where it is at NFL draft.
Yeah,
it's all the top quarterback prospects. Let's just go through and say, I'll name the best guys from each class, and you tell me if you'd rather have Purdy and Lance or that guy.
Okay.
So 14, probably the best player was Derek Carr. There's also Bridgewater, Bortles, obviously not. There's Jimmy G.
I'd rather have Purdy and Lance than any of those guys.
Yeah. And then, 2015 is Jameis Winston, Mariota.
I'd rather have Purdy and Lance than those guys.
Exactly. Then 16, Goff. Still rather have Purdy and Lance for sure, even though he's playing well. Paxton Lynch, no. Carson Wentz, no. Connor Cook, no. Jacoby Brissett, no. All right, 17. 17 was a big year. I mean, Mitchell Trubisky, no. Deshaun Watson at this point, no. He's playing like crap and all of that off the field stuff. I feel like his career is just going down the gutter. And then, of course, Mahomes, right?
Mahomes I would take.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but there's nobody else. It's just Mahomes from 17. 18, Darnold, no. Mayfield, no. Rosen, no. Josh Allen,
Rosen got picked up today, by the way, by the Minnesota, I think.
I feel like he's like everyone. He's just going to be on every team. Josh Allen, obviously, yes. Lamar Jackson, yes, I'd say. And then
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
Lamar's been up and down. I mean,
and you got to factor in the money too.
Did Minnesota pick up Rosen maybe to see if they can, if they're looking to the future, maybe playing the Niners, maybe to pick up a little bit of insight, because Rosen has a little bit of knowledge on the Niners offense?
Rosen's too lazy. He probably didn't even learn the playbook.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not.
Jim Thurkill says D'Amico and Jimmy G to the Colts. I mean, think about that. The Colts need a new head coach.
Yeah,
D'Amico's going to be a head coach. Forget Jimmy G. How about D'Amico and Trey? And you take that top 10 pick and go get Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame.
That's exactly. Well, and so this is my overarching point. So 18, okay, let's just say just Josh Allen. Then 19, Kyler Murray. At this point, no, I wouldn't. I would rather have Jimmy G signed to a long-term deal than Kyler.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other ones are Haskins, RIP, then Drew Lock, Daniel Jones. No, thank you. 2020 was a great year. 2020, you got Burrow, yes. Herbert, yes. And then Tua, I'm not really sure. I don't think so. I think I'd rather roll with what they got. And then Jalen Hurts. It's like that was a really good year.
Yeah, and then 3 top quarterbacks right there.
And then 2021, Trevor Lawrence, I guess. Probably the only one. And then last year, definitely nobody.
Fields, but I wouldn't. But
yeah, no, I wouldn't either. I mean, and then it's like Malik Willis, Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, Ritter, Howell. No, thank you. And then you look at this year's draft, and it's like, oh my God, I don't think any of these guys are going to make it. And I'm saying all of that to say that your point is right, Larry. I think that Lance could fetch more than people are thinking, because there's been like 4 or 5 good quarterbacks over the last 8 years.
If you want to go that route, you could. I honestly think the safest bet for the Niners is to go with Purdy and Lance, because you've got Lance for 3 more years 3, 4, and 5 of the contract.
A waste. It's a waste of assets if he's just going to sit the bench. It is in
a sense, but it's you want to have a solid backup in this league.
But you don't need that. You don't need. And first of all, Danny, don't you think that you're not going to be able to go 3 more years of burying Trey Lance on the bench? Trey Lance is not
you wouldn't be able to bury him, but I mean, you might.
He's going to demand a trade. He's not going to sit there.
I don't know.
Why would he sit? Why would he ruin his career and sit for like 5 years?
Yeah, he probably doesn't want to. He's not going to want to do that. But I think so. Next year he's going to want to come in and thinks he can win the job outright.
But what if Purdy wins the Super Bowl? What if they go to the Super Bowl? Do they? Is it
Mixing.
even a competition?
I mean, I think that you
probably
still
not, just because of the.
Why would it be? I mean,
if
if
Purdy
Brock
plays
Purdy
like
leads you to a playoff run and you go to the Super Bowl, I gotta think that Brock Purdy's the guy.
I would.
I think the fellas or all the whole organization will probably have so much PTSD from quarterback injuries, though, that they'd rather just keep Lance as an insurance policy.
This is.
I mean, will he?
I made this
okay
point earlier this year when Jimmy G, when they were looking at trading him, and I said, keep him as long as you can, because you don't know if Trey's going to go down in a game. And then if Trey, goes down at that point, and they kept Jimmy, and then Jimmy goes down. So you need a solid 2. I don't know if you if you went and got rid of both Jimmy and Trey, if you traded Trey, you would need to go get somebody who would be a solid backup that could win games for you.
Well, you also, it's like if you're going to get if they brought in a backup, the backup would probably be making more than Trey and Purdy, like just because they'd be a vet. Like, I just love the idea of the rooks.
I don't know what Trey's. I know it escalates each year with those rookie contracts. What is his?
I mean, he's making pretty much because he was a top 3 pick.
Yeah, what's his contract? I mean,
I think it's 8 or 9 million.
Yeah, it's like 8 million.
So you can
but Matthew Mears Larry
like
really
6,
starting to push this trade Lance narrative. Kind of odd. It's not odd at all. Why Brock Purdy has shown nothing that would make you think that he's not going to be their best quarterback going forward. Nothing.
The only thing you could maybe say is just if it's too early to tell if maybe he will be a little injury prone just because he's a little smaller guy. That would be the only thing.
That's why
But is Trey going to stick around as a backup for that long and be happy with it? I don't think so. I think Trey need. Let's be totally honest about this. Trey Lance needs to play next year. He really does. And then the 49ers have shown no inclination of being patient enough to endure the bumps in the road of Trey Lance. And now you've got this ready-made veteran rookie who's playing at a high level. And if he continues to play at this high level, and there's no reason to believe he shouldn't, this Niner team could go to the Super Bowl this year. If they go to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy, I gotta think they're staying with Brock Purdy. And at that point,
I think
then it's a matter of. I mean, I love Trey Lance, and I think he's going to get it done over time. But if Brock Purdy proves that he's the starting quarterback with his postseason run this year, and I would say, okay, what would prove it? Because that's another one. It's like, what is it going to take? Okay, let's talk about this before it happens. I would say that if Brock Purdy can go into Philadelphia, let's just say that game comes about, and we see Niners-Eagles, and he can beat Jalen Hurts and the Eagles in Philadelphia, and the Niners go to the Super Bowl, I think it's his job. And whether they lose to Kansas City, lose to Buffalo, I just think that if he can beat Philly in Philly after the run that he's had in the regular season, that will be enough for him to be the guy. Now, if that's the case, if he's the guy, what would you want to do? Do you want Trey sitting there in this huge media circus every single week of who's playing, or would you rather move Trey, get a mid-first round pick, and draft a guy like Michael Mayer, and now have a Kittle, Michael Mayer, Debo, Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, Juice, Mitchell? Look at the weapons you would have. And then you still have 8 or 9 picks to replenish your defense and O-line. You could look up next year, have a young starting quarterback on his second year into a 4-year deal, and have this incredible cast around him and maybe win a couple rings and maybe go on a nice little run. I mean, that's what Brock Purdy or any rookie quarterback that's playing really at a high level gives you. If you got them on a rookie scale deal. So you would have, the 2 deepest teams in football are the Niners, in my opinion, Philly. And why are they so deep? Because they've got Jalen Hurts on their rookie deal, and the Niners have Trey Lance on a rookie deal, and now Purdy on a rookie deal. So they've got all this talent on their rosters. And I think it's directly attributable to the fact they're not paying their quarterbacks $20 million.
I think the one thing we look at, sports is obviously an evolving event. Every day something could change. I mean, we saw the whole off season about Jimmy G. He'll never suit up for the Niners again. That looked like a lock. And then, everything comes down, happens the way it does. And we're talking here, trying to figure out next year. But I mean, anybody can go down at any moment, and that's why, in my view, you got two guys on rookie contracts. Keep them both at least next year.
If you really thought there was a competition, but what if you thought Trey was not as good as Brock?
I still keep him just because if Brock goes down, I don't want the season gone because I think Trey could then step in.
What if Brady wants to come here? Would you take Brady and Purdy?
If Brady comes here, then you're saying that Purdy's on the bench,
right?
And why would Purdy go on the bench if he won you the Super Bowl?
Well, I'm just saying. Let's say in this scenario,
the only way Brady comes,
the Super Bowl.
That's the only way. It's the only way he comes, and I think he comes only if Purdy looks like a rookie.
If Purdy throws 2 picks and they lose in the second round to the Vikings or something.
Yeah. If Purdy looks like he's looking and they lose because the defense lets him down, why would you not continue to go with Brock? Because it's so much cheaper.
Well, I think the question also Larry's raising is like, if you're Trey Lance, do you want to just keep sitting? And honestly, if I was Trey Lance, as much as it kind of sucks, I still think that my best chance of being a successful quarterback in this league and having a long-term career is to stay with this team because they're so loaded and the offense. And like, if you're thinking about if he got traded to like 28 different teams and just, he was rolled out there, like he may just be mentally broken and nobody will ever hear from him again because whoever traded for him didn't invest all that capital. So they're not as like tied to him. I think the only teams that he could like go to, and I would feel kind of as confident as the Niners, would be like if he went to the Rams, maybe with McVay, or the Chiefs.
How about the Colts?
If they get a good I just don't think they have a good enough offensive. It depends on who their coach is. If they get a good offensive mind at coach, but I don't know. I don't think there's that many of them out there.
Jaguayo says, here's $2. If you trade Lance and get a number 1, you keep Purdy and Jimmy G. I mean, what if Jimmy G wants to come back?
Then it's more of an S.
I mean, Jimmy G has played the best he's ever played this year. So that's a tough one too. I mean, it's interesting.
I think a lot of it just depends.
Because I think Trey has more value in trade than he's going to have more value in trade. If Trey's not ready to go and he doesn't look like he's ready to go, and based on the way Kyle called plays, you would think that Kyle doesn't believe that he's ready to go. If he's not ready to go, I think he still would bring something more in trade, especially since you don't have a pick in the first 2 rounds. And you could move him, get a pick in the first 2 rounds, hit on that pick, and you could be a tremendous football team. I'm just thinking of trying to win the most number of Super Bowls. And, before it's like, well, veteran quarterback, veteran price tag versus rookie quarterback on a rookie deal. But now you have 2 rookie quarterbacks on rookie deals. And Brock has got the most time left on his rookie deal because he's a first-year deal. He's a first-year player. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to shake out. And I like Trey. Like people hear me discussing a Trey trade, and they're like, oh, you hate Trey, or why do you hate Trey? I love Trey. I'm a believer in Trey. But I think it's really clear that Trey's going to need, I would say, and I'd be interested in what you guys think of this. I would say, if you made me say, what does he need? I think he needs about a 15 game, which would be like a single season, maybe a 20 game, maybe a season and a half, let's say, of starting in the NFL to really refine who he is, what he is, perfect the reads and all the things that go along with running an offense. I think he needs about a year and a half of playing before he's going to be like a guy who can be championship caliber. I do believe, though, if he gets that year and a half of playing, he's going to be one of the NFL's better young quarterbacks. So I don't want to give him away. To me, maybe the best play is keep Trey and Brock and try to build up their value. But there's this gigantic media circus that you're inviting to town. It's, at least with Trey and Jimmy, it was like Jimmy was the older guy who was moving on. Trey was the guy, and there was no competition. Now it's like, it's Purdy against Trey. And then and Rye, I mean, there's a lot of belief in both sides, in both guys in that room. But if you told me that there was a chance that a Purdy, Trey Lance quarterback competition next year would split up the locker room, I couldn't sit here and guarantee you that wouldn't happen. Right. I just couldn't. Rye, you're in there every week. You got a sense of the players and their feeling. If next year it was Brock Purdy and Trey Lance, and they're just going to go to camp and they're just going to figure it out, they're going to compete, and the winner's going to be the starter and the loser's going to be the backup, and that's the way it's going to go. Do you think there's any risk locker room wise in that scenario?
No, I think the locker room's too tough. Or, I mean, it's like too together, and like this, no matter what, I don't think that it'll be as crazy as it was even this year with the whole Jimmy stuff. So I don't know. I think that the guys in the locker room just look at quarterback as just a different, or just another player on the team. You know what I mean? Like they don't. It's not like, oh my God, Mahomes. It's like, it's just another guy on the team, like a Fred Warner or whatever. Just another guy who, yes, he's like a leader and whatever. But I mean, I think they think they can win with multiple guys. I mean, what's interesting is like if Lance, after 4 years, then there's the 5th-year option possibility. But I mean, I don't know. How many more years are they going to have this prime core? I mean, Kittle's, almost 30. I think probably I think maybe the best case scenario would be like Purdy wins the Super Bowl this year. Purdy's pretty awesome for the next couple years, but maybe not quite awesome enough to like sign to a big fat contract. And so then all of a sudden you have Lance, who's been developing. And then as like the Niners kind of start losing talent and have to go into a slight dip of rebuilding, then maybe you can sign Lance to a super reasonable contract and kind of just roll with him when he's 25 years old or whatever he is at the end of the contract.
Couple last thoughts here. Oh, go ahead, Denny.
I just think Purdy gets better with this offense. He's going to get a little bit bigger as he gets older. He's going to put on a little bit more muscle. He's just learning the offense. It's been first year in. He's played 3 games. As he's a guy that's committed to his job, his profession, takes it very serious. You're not going to see Purdy, doing crazy stuff in the offseason that some players do. He's going to focus in on learning more and more of the playbook. He's, to me, the perfect type of quarterback that Kyle wants in his system. We've all said
he's
Kyle
accurate,
has
ball
a
comes out on time.
certain type of quarterback he's wanted. That's why he wanted Kirk Cousins. He wants a guy that's quick with his throws, accurate, and has some mobility.
And
Jimmy was quick,
feels it. Yeah.
Jimmy had a quick release, but he had no mobility, and
he made crucial mistakes.
Right. Brock will make mistakes. He will throw some, bad interceptions that every quarterback does. We saw how many picks did Rodgers have last night? 2?
No. Did
one,
Rodgers?
2.
Oh, yeah.
I think he had 1. I know that. Thought it might have been 2, but anyway, he's had his 10 for the year. It's just like some of the highest totals since his rookie season. So guys are going to make mistakes, but the thing about Purdy is he knows to play within himself. He could run if he wanted to. I mean, there's been plays last week against Seattle.
He's a pocket passer with mobility.
Right. He could have run for many times, but what he does is he escapes and then he sees downfield because his eyes are looking downfield and he has excellent vision. The play where he got the first down, where he stuck the ball out past the yard marker, when he slid. That's a heads-up play. That's why Kyle says he's the most poised rookie he's ever seen as a quarterback. Guys don't make that play usually until, after playing maybe 10, 12 games. Like Justin Fields played that way last year where he was getting clobbered, and even beginning of this year, then he started learning, I better go down,
Yeah, I mean, there's something about managing the game. Niner Nation for life says Trey's going to be great if he gets a chance. David Hasselhoff says, come on, dude. Brock isn't doing anything special. He's just better than Jimmy, but this is still Trey's team. I would say that is absolutely not the case. Let's see. We got this one. Ranger 44. If Purdy wins in the postseason, teams will be calling on Lance. Let them overpay if they want. Yeah, that's one way to look at it. We got this one from Nick Yak. He says, Jets passed on Trey Lance the first time. Where are you getting a 1 from for small school who hardly played who's a hurt quarterback? That projection is my projection based on my knowledge of the quarterbacks in this draft and the free agent class that's looming. I think when people look at the options, I think Trey Lance is going to look really attractive.
Larry, as the premier Purdy guy, I'd say out there in the whole wide world. So are you at all nerd? Because I was like, I think like a lot of people, like once Purdy, now that Purdy's doing it, like I went back and watched a bunch of his highlights and like in college and, was impressed. But also there was like, I don't know, he has it in him to kind of do some of those Josh Allen, like early Josh Allen, even Josh Allen does it sometimes now, like just some crazy ass turnovers. Like, do you think that is going to come? Or do you think that he's going to be able to keep that under control for the rest of the season?
I don't think he's going to have a bunch of crazy turnovers because I think he's really smart with the football. And I think he understands that winning football is very much tied to taking care of the ball. I don't see mass turnovers coming. He's not like a Brett Favre or a Josh Allen who's got this like wild side that needs to be reined in. He's a guy who I really think in a lot of ways is very much kind of like an old soul. He's a veteran type game manager. My concern with Purdy is just, his stature and his durability. And, does he try to show that he's incredibly tough? Tyler says Kyle trusts Brock more than Trey. I think he trusts Brock more than Jimmy. I mean, I think he's kind of said it. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, I think Trey's going to be really, really good. I just don't think the Niners have the patience to endure it, and I can't see it happening. So it doesn't, but I do too much says I doubt they'd get anything over a third for him right now. I disagree. I think they'll get a lot more. All right. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take a timeout. We're going to play our commercials right here. And then there was Damian Woody on ESPN said, did you guys see the end of Raiders Patriots this week? Did you see how it ended?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Danny, did you see how it ended?
Everybody's seen that.
Yeah. Okay. Damian Woody went on ESPN and with on the Football Live Hour said that play in his mind was the dumbest play he's ever seen. We'll play the spots. We'll come back. We'll finish up with the dumbest plays we've ever seen. And if you're in the chat, I don't care, regardless of sport, I want to know what is the dumbest play you have ever seen watching pro sports. And I've got a couple candidates for sure. I got one in baseball that at a game I was at that just sticks out in my mind. But the dumbest plays. It was a Giants game.
Was it a Giants game?
It was a Giants game, but
did it involve a base runner?
No.
Okay.
I'm not going to say Ruben Rivera.
Yeah.
No. I wasn't going to say Ruben Rivera. It involved Glenn Allen Hill, the former Giant. If you remember G. Hill.
I remember Glenn Allen Hill. Yeah.
Yeah, Glenn Allen Hill. I'll never. And I'm not a heckler at a baseball game. I'm not a heckler, period. I don't heckle ball players. I understand how hard it is, and I'd never heckle. I heckled this guy because I was like, oh my God, this was just so much the worst. thing I've ever seen. All right, so we'll play the spots right here. We'll come back in a minute with the dumbest plays in the history of sports.
Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, make sure you use telmetrics.co, Telmetrix.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coccimilgio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number, 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Tony Cassera and the good people at Cassera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Cassera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com. Often imitated, never equaled.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
So New York Style Sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, you know, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never gonna deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
Hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York Style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it, guaranteed.
Hey, Pasquale. Dan Coccimilgio here for the Krueg Show. Just picked up for the very first time some of your New York Style Italian sausage here at Sam's Club in Arizona. My wife just cooked it, and I'm about to take a bite. Man, this is good. Pasquale, when you winked and said you guaranteed we love it, you're right. This stuff is absolutely amazing. Best sausage I've ever tasted. Thank you, Pasquale.
All right, we're coming down the home stretch on the Krueg Show. Larry Krueger, Ryan Smith, Dan Coccimilgio was sitting right there moments ago. All right, we'll take one more perusal through the chat, and then we'll get to our final topic. Oh, the night, and then call it a show. Call it a show. Okay, we got this one from Donald Spring. Brock has experience. Trey doesn't. Come on, man. We got this one. Joe Schmo. If Trey could be Fields or Hurts, the next season could be better. Question mark? Who knows? Well, that's hard to say. Somebody said, Carlo P. Nice tease, Lair. Thank you. Okay, we got this one. Joe Schmo. Right now is right now. Lance could be better, but he still needs to prove it. Let's see. Matthew Mears, if Kyle calls the same game plan as the Houston game or Jimmy and Purdy, Lance will be just fine. I agree. I would like to see Lance kind of operate the same system that Purdy and Jimmy do. And let's just see, that's the system. Instead of changing the system so dramatically and running Lance, because Lance is such a great runner. I don't even think Lance is that fast.
No.
Purdy might actually be faster than Lance. Let's just see Lance run the offense that you want to run and not the offense that you think he's capable of running. And then if he's not capable, he's not capable. But here's the other thing with the Lance thing. If you think he's going to be great, you don't trade him. If you think he's going to be a bust, you do trade him. Because right now, there's a lot of unknown about Lance. But if you really feel that he doesn't have the feel, and when I say you, I'm talking about Kyle. If Kyle feels he doesn't have the feel, trade him. If Kyle feels like he does have the feel and it's just a matter of time, keep him, develop him, and trade him down the road or Purdy down the road for a much more of a king's ransom. That's, I think, the way you play your hand on the quarterbacks. We got this one from Kyle Martinez. Giants closer to signing a sausage than Carlos Correia. Let's see. What else? Let's see. That's about it. We got Joe Schmo said Pasquale. Joe Schmo, Krug, break down the Spartans game. Well, I bet the Spartans gave the 4. They were up 13. They had a field goal block. The guy took it back, and then they got dominated from that point on. I mean, dominated. I don't know if you guys watched any of the bowl game today. San Jose State was up 13-0, looking to go up 16-0, and they get the kick blocked, and it was like a bomb blew up, and they were totally done the rest. They got dominated, it seemed like, the rest of the way. And then I had to turn it off. So I wound up losing that bet. Oh, well. You win some, you lose some. We got this one. Tyler Choi. Trey has a higher ceiling, but a lower floor than Brock Purdy. I think that's probably fair. Remix channel. What would Ned Coletti say about Correia's physical? What do you guys think?
I actually don't know. I mean, I think he would probably be he wouldn't come out and say it directly, but I think he would be like, I mean, you only have so many things you got to do when it comes to this guy, and one of them is you got to make sure that he's healthy.
Yeah. Well, I think he would say you don't schedule the press conference before you have the results, because you never know what could happen. Think about this.
If you didn't have the presser,
think about this.
Potentially don't look bad.
This
today
is Farhan's biggest signing ever. I mean, of any significance. Forget the money, the player. He signed nobody.
And the money.
But yeah, but I mean, but just throw out that this is the first real player that Farhan has acquired in his career, other than Rodon, who was, had injury issues. He got Bryant in a trade, which was a big deal, but that was partly due to Scott Harris's relationship. Scott Harris is the one that got that deal done at the last minute. So Farhan has no experience except all these no-name guys,
And it's only happened to him all off season. Nobody else. It's not like 5 other GMs had this happen to them. They didn't. That's
So,
that's
I mean,
what Jaguayo says. Here's $2. No, he's jumping ahead here, but let's jump to our final topic. Damian Woody, who's now on ESPN, used to be an O lineman for the New England Patriots, said the Patriots' final play against the Raiders Sunday was the dumbest play he's ever seen. If you missed it, it was a tie game. The Patriots had the ball. They're in the final play. They acted like they were losing the game, and they were doing anything to score. And they threw it back. The receiver did. Jacoby Myers threw it back to Mac Jones, who the ball was intercepted then on the throw by Chandler Jones. And then he just basically walked right over Mac Jones and tried to grab him and scored a touchdown. Raiders win. Game was going to overtime. It was anybody's ball game. And that was on the tail end of the Raiders getting a call in the end zone that I thought was wrong. You guys' toe was out of bounds. They called it a touchdown. And I'm so tired of the NFL with their crappy replay system. Call it an inquiry. Get it right. Don't have some mechanism within the game to try to get things right and then have a loophole that says you need overwhelming video evidence to overturn the call on the field. Don't favor the call on the field. Why are you favoring a call that was made blindly potentially or by somebody who's running under stress over guys in a booth who can watch it clearly without anything and blow it up and look at it? Just say inquiry. Throw a different color flag if you have to. Green flag, boom, it's an inquiry. I don't know what happened. We're going to go look at it and then go figure it out and be consistent. Have a standard. Instead, the NFL's lost PI. The Washington Giants game was the biggest, most questionable game of the year. I mean, that had a huge playoff implications, and it favored the calls. Multiple PI calls went in the favor of the bigger market team, which their presence in the playoffs means more revenue for the league. It's a terrible look. It was 2 horrendous PI calls in that Giants-Washington Commanders game that both favor the G-men, and we all know the size of the New York audience. So I think the league looked I thought it was a compelling sports weekend, but the World Cup was legitimately compelling. The NFL compelling there was some on the field, but a lot of it was just screwed up officiating. So I personally think the NFL's got to do something better with PI. And then you know what? It's a $20 billion industry. Come up with pylon cams, come up with angles that are true. And photograph this stuff. Don't lean on TV. Don't lean on TV angles. Certain games you have better angles and more cameras than others. If you're gonna do this and you got billions of dollars being bet on these games, get legit, kid. Get constant angles so that we're not just looking at it. And then we have to interpret the angle of the camera. We just see it for what it is. And it should be as easy to show those replays as they do down the stretch at a racetrack. And if there is a photo finish at the racetrack, and guess what? It happens every day. They don't say the 2-horse won unless video evidence of overwhelming nature shows that the 7-horse won. They just say inquiry. Inquiry. The stewards are looking at it. They don't know who won. They're going to tell us in a second. It was the 7-horse. It was the 2-horse. Don't have, the video kind of show, this is what they said on site. Who cares? Let's get it right. It's not about preserving the goodwill or the preserving the good feelings of these officials. Screw it. There's millions of dollars, billions of dollars on the line. Get it right.
Yeah,
Don't
I mean,
have mechanisms that prevent you from getting it right.
to make things worse, like the apparently what I heard on a podcast, so I mean, maybe fact check it, whatever, but I heard that they would have had that pylon camera angle, like the specific angle that would have, you would have known 100% if that game hadn't got flexed out of Sunday Night Football, because the NBC crew gets that special camera and not every game does. So
wow. Yeah. So, I mean, even that right there is like really, really annoying. All right. Jaguar 56 says, here's $2. Pirates Cubs last year when Javi Baez was in a rundown. All right. What is that in reference to? Well, Damian Woody said that the play in the Raiders Patriots game was the dumbest play he's ever seen. What are you guys nominating, regardless of sport, as the dumbest play you have ever seen in all of sports? And well, by the way, as you think, Al Perez says that Frenchman, Jean Van de Velde, in the 1999 BO, 18th hole collapse. He blew a 3-shot lead to Paul Lowry of Scotland. Oh, I can remember it. It was at Carnoustie, I believe. It was an unbelievable gag job at Carnoustie by Jean Van de Velde, and every shot he took was dumber than the last.
Yes.
That one is definitely on the short list. Mine that I can come up with, I was at a Giants game in the early 90s, I believe, and the Giants had Glenn Allen Hill, and I forget, they were going against the Phillies. It was the ninth inning. Phillies had a reliever, might have been Mitch Williams, but it was a super wild reliever that night, and he walked the bases loaded in the ninth inning. Okay. Ninth inning, Giants are down 4-3. The pitcher for the Phillies walks the bases loaded. G. Hill comes up. First pitch goes back to the screen. Okay. A run scores. So now it's not bases loaded. And I think that made it was 4-2. That made it 4-3. So now it's second and third and still nobody out. Or still there was 2 outs. The first 2 guys got outs. Then the next 3 guys were walked. Then he throws the first pitch to the screen and a run scores. So now the 4-2 game's 4-3 and he's 1-0. The next pitch goes like almost to the grass cutout. He was so short with it. He bounces it like 3 times before the plate. It's 2-0. He's thrown a pitch to the backstop and a pitch that hit the grass. He's 2-0. The third pitch comes firing inside, and G. Hill almost gets hit by it, turns away, and it was 3-0. The place is going crazy. Friday night, Giants, they're going to rally in the ninth. Next pitch, check. It had to be a take, right? The guy's thrown one to the screen. He just walked the bases loaded. It's a check swing strike by G. Hill. Now it's 3-1. I'm in the first row. I'm booing. What are you doing now? Don't swing. I'm screaming, don't swing. The next pitch takes it. Strike 2. It's on the inside corner. Now it's 3-2. 3-2 pitch. Seriously, up here around his eyes, and he swung at it for strike 3. He swung at 2 pitches that were ridiculously bad after a guy walked the bases loaded, threw one to the screen. I've never seen a wilder. I don't think I've seen a wilder pitcher in the big leagues. And G. Hill struck out. Wow. The place went bananas screaming at him. And he's just like walking back to the dugout, shaking his head. And, oh my God. He wore the wraparound orange glasses, those like wraparound Oakleys, and oh my God, it was just the most memorable moment. Glenn Allen Hill, just totally the worst AB maybe I've ever seen. What would you guys say? What is the dumbest thing you've seen in sports?
Yeah, most sports plays the dumbest ones come up in key situations, end of game or something that costs the game. But if we looked hard enough, there's probably some that are insignificant to what actually happened in the game, but the ones that get magnified. So the one for me that was, it was at the Meadowlands. Joe Pisarcik is quarterback for the New York Giants.
Yeah.
All they had to do is take a knee and the game's over, right? He hands the ball off, and as he turns, there's a mess up in the backfield, and he fumbles it. And
Herm Edwards
of the Eagles, Arizona State former coach, picks the ball up and runs it in for the touchdown. And, Eagles win. And immediately the head coach was fired right after the game.
It was John McVay.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It was John McVay, who later came to the Niners.
Hall of Fame Niner executive.
Yeah. So it was just like, what are you doing? That's where the beginning, I think that's kind of where the take a knee started to really come in after that.
Yeah.
It was just like, if you look at
Miracle in the Meadowlands.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
right.
one.
That's one. You got another one, Danny?
Yeah. And I think it was the Javi Baez play. I don't know if it was him that hit the ball. There was 2 out. Did you see the play last year?
Yeah.
2 outs. The guy hits it to the first baseman, and he gets in a rundown with Baez, and all he had to do is step on the bag, and the inning's over.
Right, of course.
And he's throwing it back. And then the catcher has a chance to just throw it in the game. Even though the runner had crossed home plate, it wouldn't have counted if they would have because the last out at first, if it's made, doesn't count, and he runs. Otherwise, a high fly ball and all these runners that pass home plate, on a high fly ball running on 2 outs, those runs don't count, even though they might have crossed home plate. So he just had to throw it to first, and Baez ends up at second or something like that, because the ball's thrown into right field. Unbelievable. Right. That and Pisarcik. And there's quite a few more, but those are 2 that stand out.
We got this one too. Manny Machado says Ruben Rivera base running for the Giants. That we all remember because John Miller had the call, and that's the worst base running in the history of the game.
Yeah,
that one we have
You seen that one, Rye?
Oh yeah.
That was just really, really
What's
bad.
Rise? What's Rise?
Yeah, Rye, what do you got?
Play?
Well, 2 honorable mentions would be the Romo botched PAT hold and that whole thing. That was brutal in the playoffs
against Seattle. Seattle.
Yeah, and then regular season, I remember that Colts play where they ran that bizarre formation, the fake punt where they had two linemen and then everybody else was off to the right-hand side, and it didn't make any sense and it immediately didn't work. That one was bad. But then I got to go, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to blame the coaches for these 2. My runner-up is Kyle Williams, and just allowing Kyle Williams to catch the ball. Because Belichick, the second somebody fumbles, that guy's out of the game. Harbaugh should not
he fumbled 3 times.
How do you keep rolling him out? So I'm going to have to put that one on Harbaugh. And then last year, not kicking the ball inbound, or not forcing Kansas City to return the ball, kicking the ball out of the end zone in the 13 seconds, is just the dumbest, most indefensible.
How about this one? If you're Kansas City, not bumping, or was it who was playing Kansas City in that game?
Oh, the Bills.
Buffalo.
Bills.
Was it Buffalo not bumping Travis Kelce at the line of scrimmage?
Just hold them. Just hold them. Take the 5-yard penalty.
You have it right to chuck the guy inside of 5 yards. Instead, you gave him a free release. Without the free release, he doesn't get far enough down the field with the amount of time left on the clock to beat you.
Holding all of those guys.
Bumping him would have been enough.
I'm holding them, I'm grabbing onto their jerseys and holding them flagrantly and wasting 6 seconds, 7 seconds. And then they can't do anything but throw a Hail Mary because there was 13 seconds. They would have not had time to run another play and get a field goal. So
here's a good one. How about this one? Ryan Fitzgerald. Anytime Dubon was on the base pass. Has there ever been a worse base runner than Mauricio? He was bad. He was bad, man.
How about
I'll say Jim Harbaugh calling a timeout at the end of Super Bowl 37 or 47 against the Ravens when they've got Ray Lewis at the end, Ed Reed at the end. They're sucking wind and they badly need a blow, and you call a timeout and let them regroup when you were the faster, physical, more fresher team. I mean, that was the million times ridiculously stupid.
How about Cavs Warriors game 1, J.R. Smith 107. He takes the ball. All he had to do is go back up, and he could have.
That might be the winner, actually. J.R. Smith.
I think that I am kind of maybe it's because I'm just kind of a LeBron hater, but that one was like immediately the whole game was put on J.R. Smith because LeBron had that incredible game. But I mean, people act like, he had the ball like 10 feet behind the 3-point line, J.R. Smith. Like, I mean, he could have got a shot off or passed to someone, but like still,
when he rebounded it, he was wide open. He could have just went up and just dropped it.
Was he? I got to rewatch that play.
How about this one? Kapler calling for a reliever when no one was warming up in the pen when he was with the Phils. That was bad. I'll say this too. People always talk about the 77 World Series. Reggie Jackson on 3 swings against 3 different pitchers, hit 3 balls out of Yankee Stadium in the amazing Game 6 of the 77 series. Why are you pitching to Reggie the 3rd time? What are you doing? He's already hit 2 moonshots. He's calling himself Mr. October. He's obviously thriving in the moment. Why would you pitch to Reggie a 3rd time? I mean, have you noticed nobody ever asked that? First base, I think, was open. What are you pitching to Reggie for? Yeah, there's a bunch of them, but those are the ones that stand out. I'm sure this is a good one too. Hey, Spider 8 says single coverage on Jerry Rice. Don't play that. Don't play that.
I'm not going to play it. I'm just showing the freeze frame. So this is as J.R. Smith is coming down with the ball. He still hasn't gotten to the ground yet, but KD was there. Like I don't think he would have been. I think KD would have contested the shot. I don't think he would have made it.
Yeah.
And then LeBron was horrible in OT.
We got this one. Dusty Baker pulling Russ Ortiz and handing him the game ball on the mound. And this is the one that first came to mind. Gilbert Gamboa, Leon Lett on Thanksgiving. Now, I don't remember the exact play, but it was like
50. It was like 40 something to nothing, or whatever it was. He scooped up a ball, ran it all the way down, and put the ball out like he was getting ready to cross the goal line. And wasn't it the guy that just retired, the receiver for the Bills? What was his name?
Don Beebe?
No, wait a minute. Got the wrong guy. That was too many years ago.
It was Don Beebe.
Yeah,
I thought.
It was Beebe. He raced down and knocked the ball out before he crossed the goal line. And I think it would have given Dallas over 50 points or something at the time.
God. And there was snow on the field in Dallas. This one's humble season ticket salesman. Martin Grammatica's field goal celebration. He jumped up to celebrate a field goal and blew out his ACL.
Oh man,
that's bad. That's bad. Yeah. So anyway, it's not often though that you can discuss the dumbest plays in the history of sports. Nobody. Chris Webber's timeout. I'll tell you the other one. Who was the Seattle OC when they didn't hand it to Marshawn and they threw the interception on the slant to Malcolm Butler?
Who was what?
Who was Seattle's offensive coordinator in the Super Bowl?
Doug Bevel? Was it Doug Bevel?
Darrell Bevel.
Or Darrell Bevel?
Darrell Bevel. Darrell Bevel. Yeah, that was. You're throwing a slant. You have Marshawn Lynch. You're on the one.
Wasn't it first or second down?
I mean, it was bad. I mean, that's the one
just give.
Hey, Spider 8 says Gus Frerotte headbutted into the wall at the Meadowlands, I believe, and knocked himself out of the game. That was bad. Oh, I'll tell you the other one that was bad in the Egg Bowl when Ole Miss played Mississippi State. Remember the guy who lifted his leg like a dog to fake urinating on the football at the end? He scored a touchdown and then he raised his leg like he was urinating, like a dog urinating, and he got called for like some kind of celebration or something, penalty, and negated.
I mean, yeah. How about DJ Moore? I mean, the Panthers would be in first place looking at a playoffs, and probably their coach isn't fired if he just doesn't take off his goddamn helmet.
Paul Pearman says, the moral of the story tonight, folks, don't do nicotine. All right, guys, good stuff. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., Ron Wotus, for you Giants fans, is going to stop by, and I'm eager to see what he says, about Crawford playing short, playing third, playing second, about Correia.
Wonder if we'll have any news.
What he knows, what doesn't know.
Correia by then.
I guess the question on the Correia front is the last one that we'll bandy about here is, how long do you think this will take before it's rectified? Do you think we'll have news on this tomorrow, or do you think this is going to be something that's going to drag past into the new year?
I think we get news tomorrow or Thursday. I think it's, if you're waiting on a test result, that result's probably in.
Yeah.
They probably,
anonymous is in the morning. Yeah, I know, 10 a.m. in the morning, but that's what Ron's available tomorrow. So we'll knock that out tomorrow morning, and then tomorrow afternoon we're down in Santa Clara. I'd like to actually go to practice tomorrow, and we'll talk about that, and then we'll be in the locker room afterwards. So, guys, good stuff. Rye, good to see you're alive. Danny, both of you guys got a final thought on the way out here? After we're 2 hours or 3 hours and 5 minutes into the live stream, it's 10:51. We're going to call it quits right here. You guys got a final thought on the night or a final comment?
Things seem to be breaking almost too well for the Niners, and it has me concerned. That's what I'm going to say.
Okay. Dan?
I would just say, with the whole thing with Purdy and Trey, this is a fun season, the way it's turning out.
Sure,
I'm just going to enjoy it, and however it ends, hopefully it ends right down here, about within 10 minutes of where I live, and with a title. But I'm not going to worry about next year's issues with the team. I just want to enjoy and see what they do this year, and I think, things have a way of working themselves out. I think there'll be plenty of time for the quarterback as soon as their last game's played for next year, getting into next year. So, but that's my take on it all.
Good deal. We got Hey Spider 8 says, clean your room, Ryan. We've got Randy Cell 415. He says, everybody just needs to relax.
Hey, yeah.
And then Eric asked, can we play Frank's song on the way out? Can we play a little Frank song on the way out?
Yeah.
And then tomorrow we have the Warriors. Is it tomorrow, Warriors Nets?
Yeah.
Or is that 2 days from now?
Tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah,
so I don't know if we'll go live tomorrow night or not, but we definitely will be going live later this week. But we might go tomorrow night. We're not sure. But tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., Ron Wotus stopping by the Krueg show. But here we go. Here's a little Frank Red. Frank Red's not with us tonight, but Frank's got a terrific single that's out. Frank's a freestyle rapper. He collabed with this woman from Los Angeles who did an incredible job on this song with Frank. And once again, what's the name of the song?
Make You Feel.
Make You Feel. Yeah. And if we got a little Ringo, if we got a little Faith in Buster, that's always good. Hope everybody had a phenomenal night. Enjoy Frank on the way out. And thanks for tuning into the Krueg Show. And by the way, I'm wearing one of the Krueg Show t-shirts. They all just showed up. I will have them as far as the shirts showed up. Now they're just putting the actual screen on it. I should have them within a week. And everybody who reached out, I'll reach out to you and we'll figure out a way to get them to you. So appreciate everybody. And if you want to get a shirt, just DM me or get a hold of me somehow, some way on social media, and just give me your address and I will, we have large XL, double XL. We have 2 triple XLs for people who want the bigger size. So there you go. All right, here we go. Little
Carlo
Frank Red.
P says,
I think I'm just gonna clean my room during this song. I think.
Yeah, and Carlo P says, love how the Warriors. Where'd it go?
Oh, there. Sorry with that.
Love how the where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Love how the Warriors post game had 2 minutes of Warriors talk.
Oh,
Well, there's not a
just to
whole
show
lot
ya.
to talk about after a 38-point drubbing, and I mean, we'll say this: it's probably going to happen similar tomorrow night because they don't have any of their guys. I mean, DiVincenzo's out, JaMychal Green is out, of course, Curry and Wiggins.
You may want to
This
fade
team-
the Warriors on the road.
Yeah, this team will be there when it counts. But right now, I mean, they're beat up, and there wasn't a whole lot to really get into. We would have what could we have said tonight? other than
No.
Nah.
just
Mo
nothing.
G says, great show, guys. And then we have Al Perez says, happy birthday to Brock Purdy. December 27th, he turns 23.
Wow, I thought
Hopefully
he
the
was,
Brock Purdy
23.
story continues.
All right.
All right, here we go. Little
Awesome.
Frank Red on their way out.
You miss your shot at life, you think there's nothing else for you to do. This ain't a tragedy, son, I know I've seen a few. You're not responsible for somebody else's thrill. Your integrity's intact and you're still trying to climb the hill.
I don't hear it.
I was a lonely man, I never thought it would come true. But sometimes in life, all you have are your dreams and you. That's when you realize that life ain't standing still. And all you can do is bow your head and accept God's will. But it's funny how it makes you feel. I said it's funny how it makes you feel. I said it's funny how it makes you feel. Life is but a thrill. He have no time for small talk, he didn't mince words, just sum the lyrics to the best song he ever heard. All his hopes and dreams had turned to despair, but what he was facing, there was no way to prepare. This came from a man who thought his life was ending. In his mind it was serious, there was no pretending. He checked the clock on the wall before he said his goodbyes. Emitting tears he has gone, see back into his eyes. He was old in life, there'll be no encore. He raised his hands to the heavens, put his knees on the floor. Don't have to be a genius to know he'd been blessed. He said he'd pay it forward and always do his best. At that moment, what he's been searching for became clear. He was here to serve those who living in fear. With his newfound enlightenment in the wind at his back, he's prepared to live out his life's final act. He was a rich man now, he had purpose in life. And to capture this feeling, you don't pay a price. Before he set up on his own, he made a pledge to get some wins and live his life against the grain to the bitter end. You miss your shot at life, you think there's nothing else for you to do. This ain't a tragedy, son, I know I've seen a few. You're not responsible for somebody else's thrill. Your integrity's intact and you're still trying to climb the hill. I was a lonely man, I never thought it would come true. But sometimes in life, all you have are your dreams and you. That's when you realize that life ain't standing still. And all you can do is bow your head and accept God's will. But it's funny how it makes you feel. I said it's funny how it makes you feel.